Okay, everybody, welcome to Discussing Tabletop. I hope you're having a great Saturday and you're ready to join myself, and I've got Worm here with me today.
Hi.
Is, of course, the end of June, June 29th. We got, like, two more days? Is it 30 days of June, or is it 34? I think it's 30. It's 30. So tomorrow's last day of June. Wow, halfway done the year already.
I just had to click in the bottom corner of my computer, and I knew that in a second.
I opened the calendar on my phone because I didn't want to mess with anything, just in case that would do something to mess with something. You know, the age-old, I don't want to press the button and have everything explode.
Yeah, I mean, if you miss, you might be able to, because if you click too far over, it will minimize everything. There's actually if you click past the little icon, you can minimize everything, which is a thing that can happen.
See, that
I've misclicked there a few times.
Don't need that. We can still work. We're fine. Yeah. So hey, we've had a great week and is ready to talk about some tabletop. How do you think your week has gone, Worm? How has it?
Finally catching up from getting behind during all my tooth stuff.
Yep, that'll do it when you get behind my stuff.
So I'm like 95% caught up.
Hey, you know what? That's not bad still, nonetheless. 95 is a good percentage.
I mean, I only missed 3 days, but it was also 3 days where everything happened. I also wasn't fully mentally present at work for like several other days because I was dealing with the stress of all of it, so.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Yeah, I think I got like, I want to say 50 invoices that I needed to process. Which is a lot.
Well, you know, seems like at least you got a lot of it basically done and you're mostly caught up. You know,
Yep.
it's...
How was your week?
Interesting. I can chat about it a little bit to catch up here. Just, I probably would have gone into some details during my various streams, but it's been fine. There has been a kind of change of schedule, both good and bad in certain ways. My mother is in a lot better position in her job because the old owner passed away. Her basically son and daughter-in-law have taken over, and they are more competent and less evil business people, turns out. And recognize that my mother has basically been the manager for like the last couple of years, so they, you know, compensating her for her time a lot more.
Yeah.
I guess that's the easiest way to say it. She's just been
That's
putting
good.
up while the old owner was basically sick and unable to run as much stuff. Cancer.
Yeah. Yeah, I've actually been dealing with kind of an absent boss right now. Actually, that brings me to that because my boss broke his shoulder.
Ooh. That's kind of bad.
Yup.
You know, it did kind of change schedule too, because again, that's something that when someone's fighting cancer for a long time and they suddenly die, you know, though you kind of expect it, it still is sudden, you know?
Yeah.
So it's an interesting position, and I got a little busy in the back end of the week here. But otherwise, it's been fine. You know, I've been enjoying gaming and chatting tabletop as usual and stuff like that. Anyway. Oh boy. Oh, there's something I forgot to do. Hey, you know, I forgot to put the docket into Nightbot. Let me just play around with things and have everybody see a little bit of stuff in the background because I gotta click away. I forgot to copy the docket over to proper places. And that includes putting it into Nightbot. I know. I knew I forgot something.
Mine.
Yeah, the secrets of I placed the docket in the Discord chat.
What a crazy secret.
Yeah, man. You know, sharing the docket with everybody so that whoever's joining can know what's going on. And I put it in the proper order this time. Who'd have thought? I put the D&D stuff last. So we're gonna talk a little bit about Magic.
So,
Gathering.
talking about D&D, no.
We're gonna start with Magic because there was actually a couple of very interesting announcements, I have to say, regarding Magic that I thought were very interesting to talk about. Starfinder is having, for its second edition, its playtest based on its Starfinder Society. That's very interesting. It's the organized playtest, which,
okay.
that sounds weird saying, but, it is something because it is a major part of both Starfinder and Pathfinder, the, societies, that it's a good thing to do. So we should have most of it. Put it into Twitch chat. It'll be, for those of you watching in YouTube, it's just going to be linked at the bottom, so you don't have to worry about that. For Twitch chat, I'm linking all the stuff there. At least the basic schedule. That's not correct. Oh, I left the old D&D 2024 in there, so it's under twice! Well,
Oh, yeah, it is.
It's fine. The docket was mostly correct. I think I first want to talk about Duskmourn. Because we've gotten a sight of what this actually is. And I think So no one really wanted the cowboy set. I'm gonna tell you that when it came to Magic the Gathering. It was okay, but no one really wanted it.
Don't mind me, I just got a weird little spot in my back I'm trying to get. This is a cool tool, by the way.
I have to find something good for people in that. Bloomborough, interesting idea. Fantasy world where it's the anthropomorphic animal fantasy world. Fine with that, We're going back to some more traditional fantasy. That's great. Duskmourn is a horror realm, but a really interesting one that I'm going to say, just reading the prospect is really cool. I read through a bunch of the stuff here, and basically the idea is that there's a powerful demon that got trapped. They basically sealed it away in this house. But the demon found that it was able to expand the house, basically, and the influence of the house over time, and basically, over enough time, consumed the entire realm into the house. So now it is a entire, plane inside this house.
Interesting.
Yeah, with this,
That actually is a very cool idea. I need to steal that.
Yeah, and it's found ways to, beforehand, it was able to kind of, use all of its power, being this, basically merged with the plane, to kind of reach across and, drag people in to torment them because it feeds on, fear and stuff. But now that the planes are open in the Magic Gathering storyline, it's very much easier for it to kidnap people and throw them into the house. So that's the entire thing, is we've got a bunch of characters, coming into here and dealing with it, and maybe resolving some of the storylines about it. And they talk about a lot of the interesting creatures, and there are still, surviving beings that are still alive in the plane. But there aren't many of them, basically, because it's sort of your entire plane is now a demon-infested, nightmare house.
Hellhole.
Yeah. It's kind of like what happened to Mirrodin, where it became New Phyrexia, where, except it was basically, everybody was consuming you and transforming you into Phyrexians. It was the Borg that infested your planet. This one's just a nightmare horror movie. And they've done horror stuff before with, Innistrad, but Innistrad was, classic movie horror, zombies, werewolf, vampires. This is definitely that, a bit of that, newer age horror, of, slashers and stuff like that. So I feel like it's very much so, 80s, 90s horror. So I'm all for that a little bit. It seems like a cool idea. I hope they execute it well, but from reading up on it, I definitely am more on board for it. I'm on board for Bloomborough, because it's just kind of adorable stuff, and it's not the weird fantasy cowboys or detectives in Ravnica when they didn't have detectives before, where everything's oops all detectives.
Yeah.
The other thing that I found was interesting.
I mean, yeah, just the idea of this is cool. I just like the idea of it. And the art is actually very awesome.
That's the thing, is it's such a cool idea, that I'm like, wow.
Man, how are they going to ruin this?
That's what I'm worried about. Honestly, that's really what I'm worried about. I'm like, how are they going to ruin this? Like the more you hear about some of the products they're putting out, and I'm like, ugh. You know, it's like we talked about the Secret Lair drop. I think it was it last week we talked about it?
Yes.
It was sold. It started on Monday. Most of them were sold out by Tuesday.
Wow.
And it's the fact of like, I saw someone break down all the ones that remain earlier, like yesterday, and none of them were worth the cards in them, except for maybe the foil ones, because some of them had rare foil printing, so they were only in foil once. Expensive anyway. But a lot of, like, if you don't get the foils, if you're just looking for them for cards for your collection, it's not worth it. Like, if you love the art style, money doesn't matter. You know, that's an important thing.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at, like, oh, these are reprints I need for my game, just go out and buy a single because they're going to be less expensive. You're not going to get some chuff that's really not worth it. There's so many of them where apparently that's not worth it. It was so, like, Neither of the Assassin's Creed ones were. Or was the artist one. And, like, you know, so it's like...
No.
And,
that doesn't surprise me.
Again, it's they've switched to a FOMO thing, and it hurts me so much more. Just as a side.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thing that I find interesting, is just, like, some of the most successful, like, company mottos are basically built off, like... I don't know, this kind of, like... missing out kind of concept. Like, I also feel like that happens with, like, Disney and Nintendo, where it's like, oh, keep up to date or you might be missing out. Like,
oh, you hit it on the nail on the head, because I heard something. Like, okay, again, I don't have a Switch. I originally was going to get one. Stuff happened. I couldn't afford one for a while. I just haven't been in a place
kind of thing.
I'm just in a place where I feel like buying it. Like, I'm actually thinking about maybe, like, I think I have enough, like, side money that I could maybe get, like, a Switch 2 if I really wanted to. And some of the games that I would want are coming out.
Are they making a Switch 2?
Yeah, we know it's coming out, but they haven't formally announced it. Basically, in the background of knowledge of what people have heard about.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of knew they were working on something, because it's been, I want to say, if I remember correctly, it's been, like, 8 years since the Switch came out?
Theoretically, they're going to be announcing it a little later this year.
Yeah. Which is really long for technology. It's like the Switch is old.
There are a lot of things about it, like being theoretically like backwards compatible with at least the Switch games, but whether or not it's backwards compatible with the other content they've released on the Switch, that's a question. You know, of all their like online ROMs, basically. But you know, hearing that they're like charging $60 for a game that originally sold for $40, well, $50 or $40 depending on the port, that was an interesting thing. The Donkey Kong Country Returns, which isn't much of an upgrade. Originally sold for $50 on the Wii, I think it was Wii or Wii U, and then on the DS version it was $40, and now they're selling it for $60. And it's an old game. You know, it's the exact same kind of thing of like Nintendo's like, you'll want it, it's our only version of it now, and it just makes me shake my head.
Yeah, and like Nintendo squashes all their old stuff. It's like, oh, you're not allowed to use our old stuff. Here's some new stuff. You won't be able to use it unless you buy it now. It's kind of what I feel like they do. And then like Disney's very much, oh, we're putting out all this stuff. You better watch it, or else you know you might not be able to have fun with your friends. It's kind of the motto I always feel with them, where it's just all like, oh, have you heard of this great thing? Everyone's watching it. Do you want to miss out? It's like that's almost the marketing strategy. Is like this fear.
It's one of those. It's definitely one of those things that, like, I don't feel any worse for having missed a bunch of stuff, you know, nowadays. And I'm like, I'm tired. You know,
because I was someone who really liked Nintendo mostly because I just loved Legend of Zelda and, but kind of I'm like, and Pokemon. Those are the two games I loved growing up, and I like bought basically every Nintendo console to get them. But I'm just like, I don't think it's worth supporting this company anymore. like they are so bad. Like when I learned about just how bad they are, I'm just like, you know what? Like, they're actually slightly improving, but they're still horrible.
Well, again, it's sort of like they have a set level of horribleness that I kind of think has never really changed too much. And that's kind of why I'm like, I still prefer Nintendo over some of our Western groups, just because there's...
In a weird way, well, the problem is how ruthless they are. Like, it's kind of funny, because it's like EA and stuff are, like, horrible, but everyone knows they're horrible. So you kind of so it actually hurts their budget. The worst kind of horrible is and like Ubisoft as well. The worst kind of horrible is the horrible people don't recognize.
I think that's true. Yeah.
And that's why I think Nintendo and Disney are two of the worst right now. And I guess Magic the Gathering. No, I'm just kidding. Magic the Gathering isn't as bad.
Wizards. Yeah.
Hasbro itself, Wizards, it's kind of funny because it's like this subgroup that's actually a little bit more pure on this like evil overlord. Because Wizards, I always felt like it's had some integrity, even if, like, in most of the things it's done weird, I feel like we're very corporatized.
It's the thing that, like, I would have said that Wizards had integrity up until about 2 years ago. I think, like, the last 2 years, integrity has gone out the window.
Yeah, I mean, even then, I feel like there was a lot of, at this point, I kind of feel like there's a lot of corporate involvement that kind of pushed them in that direction. Which is why I feel like, but the people at Wizards, and that's the thing, I wouldn't say Wizards as a whole, because they're very much dictated by Hasbro in a lot of ways as a whole, which is what happened with that whole OGL debacle. But the people at Hasbro are generally fairly genuine and nice people. Like, when you hear about their employees or their top-level employees, most of them are nice.
What's the thing is, when we get to D&D again, and talk about today, I think, like, I'm more and more, like, when originally they announced it and talked about it, I had a very different feeling than I have now about it. And I do want to kind of express my feelings about this before we kind of get into it. But
yeah,
it's
I haven't
like,
looked into the rest of this, so...
But, like, this is the kind of stuff you could have just put out in a rod or a quality of life for. That's kind of where I'm at with a lot of the stuff they're putting. It's sort of like, it does not feel the need for these entire new books so much. The more I hear about it, it's like the only book that I think might be really great, especially which I'm holding my breath for it, but why they say it is the DMG, because it was so bad. The DMG was so bad.
I mean, I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot of good coming out in all of these.
Yeah.
I do question whether they need to be full books, but we'll get to that.
Anyway, the other thing, which is a very interesting thing, is because we can't have core sets anymore, we have something akin to a core set. We can't have jump starts anymore because they ruined those. So now we have Magic Gathering Foundations that I've just heard about, which is basically a beginner set or like a core set kind of thing.
What's wrong with core sets? What's wrong with beginner sets?
Magic doesn't love them, and they're never quite as profitable as some of the others, but they help maintain the health of your system, but they decided not enough profits in them. Also, the core sets, that's what it was. They never really sold super great in comparison to a lot of others. They sold standard, like, okay, but it was a place for a lot of, like, smaller cards, reprints, and stuff like that to keep standard as a format pretty healthy. They got rid of this.
Yeah.
So, now standard widely fluctuates because we don't have a core set. They came out with Jumpstart. Jumpstart was a really great idea, the original Jumpstart. They've only done like 1 or 2 of those, but then they decided that we're going to call Jumpstart and make it part of one of, like, a Jumpstart version of one of the sets that we have. And those were really, really bad. Like when Jumpstart was made on its own, it was a simple set with decent stuff in it that worked pretty well together and was fun to play. You could have a very simple game of Magic with the Jumpstart, with the original Jumpstart sets. I think there's only 2 of them, and they worked well. But like, I'd have to look at the full history of all the Jumpstarts. But they did like a Jumpstart and stuff.
Yeah, but there's just a whole thing where, I played Yu-Gi-Oh back in the day, and those starter sets, those core sets that they had. They had a lot of different ones, obviously, that were all themed around a thing, so you could actually play reasonably. Like, 2 of my starter, I had 3 decks that I played, mostly, and 2 of them were built around a starter set, like, 2 of the 3. So, it's like, they're good for things. Like, they help you get into it. They give you something to start with and things to build off of if you want to like actually start building your own.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think starter material are still really good. And oftentimes they will have a lot of good cards. There are a bunch of cards, legacy-wise, that are still staples in many places and are never really that expensive, but are still good cards for various combos and stuff. And you know where they came from? Core sets. And they are played still to this day. Maybe they're not like your top tier of really expensive cards. They're maybe like $5 to $10 cards. But for your like top tier decks. But they're still played in more than just standard. So that tells you how good these things were and how interesting the things were. And that's why I'm looking forward to this, but I don't know what to expect from it at this point in time, because we've had so much like ups and downs with various core type abilities. So like, I'm hoping this will be good. I don't know if it's going to be good. I'm glad to see that they're doing it though. That's what I'll say. Oh, again, it gets down to, as soon as Modern Horizons was out, we were already working on spoiling stuff for Assassin's Creed. As soon as Assassin's Creed is coming out, which is next week, they're beginning to do stuff for Bloomborough. We're getting like stuff for the next set as soon as the one is dead, because they're putting out so much products now. It's product vomit, and it's a lot. So I think it's just other things about like the health of Magic the Gathering, which I love Magic the Gathering. I love playing it. I want it to be successful. I don't know if it will with the direction they're going in. I worry about them. Hence why I talk.
Yeah, because part of me is just like, I mean, I always thought like, oh, if I get into Magic, or if I ever wanted to get into Magic, I'd just buy like a pre-built deck just to kind of start playing around with, right?
You only get those.
That's not a thing.
For Commander,
so they do have them.
Yes, but Commander is only one of the formats.
Yeah, I know.
Commander is one of the more popular formats, and I do like Commander, but Commander is not my favorite, I gotta say. I like just standard things like Modern, Standard, Legacy, which are just, all of those basically play the same, it's just the cards you have them. That's the
basically which
difference.
Ones are banned and which ones are allowed.
Yeah, and some of them, their formats have different sets of cards. Like Legacy and Vintage have every Magic card. Modern only has cards of the more modern format of appearance. So basically, I think the original Mirrodin set is where you start from Modern. Older cards than that you cannot use because they look different, basically. And then Standard is the more current rotation, which, again, I wouldn't mind Standard and playing it. I'm never going to be great at Standard. I'm not going to be in tournaments for Standard. But if you tell me we want to play some and, like, there's an interesting sets out, I can build some stuff and play with it, and have fun and again, Commander...
So what's Commander then?
It's a 100-card deck where, other than basic lands, you can only have one of every card.
Oh, okay.
Normally you can have up to 4 of every card in any other
that's
format.
Interesting.
And the other thing is then you have a special commander card, which is not in your hand in its command zone, where you can summon it any time. But if it gets removed anyway, it returns to your command zone, and it's basically a little bit more expensive to bring it back out. But it's basically like an extra card that usually you choose a commander because it combos with a lot of stuff in your deck. Like, like if you're playing a graveyard deck, you have a commander that does have things to deal with the graveyard, so bring things back from the dead. So you throw it out there, use its abilities, to combo your deck.
Yeah, that's... I
it's an interesting format.
That one. Yeah.
It's a good multiplayer format, is the thing about it. It's the best multiplayer.
Okay.
So Foundations, let's hope it's something good. I just don't know. We don't know enough about it. I didn't hear about it until this week, and, like, in the Magic the Gathering news, I don't even know if they've announced it before now. Like, they've announced plenty of stuff, but I'm unsure if they announced it before now. Alright, let's talk something else that's in a playtest. And that is, of course, as I mentioned earlier, the Starfinder Society 2nd Edition playtest. So, if you're unaware what Starfinder Society is, let me sit down for a second. It's organized play. Organized play, if you're unaware of that, which most people would be aware of it, but not everybody, I understand. It's basically going to stores and locations and playing and bringing characters and stuff like that where you can go to places to do small adventures.
Yep.
And they're technically linked together in a play style. I know, like, D&D does organized play, other people do, so this is Starfinder Society and Pathfinder Society are the two Paizo ones.
I mean, I'll be honest. I feel like Paizo, in my opinion, puts a lot more emphasis on their organized play. I don't know if that's true, but I don't know. I always felt that way. I know Adventure League is
because they put out more products.
Yes, and that's kind of because like Adventure League for D&D, right? That's their Adventure League is their organized play system.
Yeah, Adventure League.
Yeah. They're it's probably easier to find those, but I feel like I think it's just because they have less content that's applicable to it.
So, I can open up the release dates for Paizo and look from this month, and there was 2 Pathfinder Society scenarios released and 1 Starfinder Society released. And I could link to them, and I could purchase them, whether I just wanted to play them with my friends, or play them officially with the Society. But that's what they do. They release small... And the thing is, I've seen some of these before. They aren't, like, complete adventures. There are a lot of building blocks, so, like... that allows a person running it to run an adventure but kind of make their own spin on it, you know. So it's a lot more looser than your traditional adventure, the society scenarios, because that's what they are. They're scenarios, you know.
Yeah.
But it's set, you know, with the idea that you're going to be doing traditionally Pathfinder Society, and, you know, with the rules of character creation and that, because there are specific rules for creating characters in the Society. So keep that in mind too.
And their website, like when you're looking up Nethys, it lists what things are allowed and what aren't.
Yep. And they have a certain type of gameplay it's going to be. They're all meant to be that you're members of the Pathfinder Society, which is an actual, like, adventuring society in the Galarian world. You know, it's their, like...
Starfinder Society as well. I do know about that.
Yeah.
I've heard more about I didn't know there was a Pathfinder Society, though. I've heard about the Starfinder Society, but that's probably because I've only ever played Pathfinder 1E, which they didn't really have.
They do actually have it a lot. The thing is, like, when we're talking about things like Corvosa, the Pathfinder Society was not allowed into Corvosa. But if you go to Magnamar, the other big city-state in Parisia, there is a branch of the Pathfinder Society there.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes. It's just because, like, the Pathfinder Society is a very neutral good, or chaotic good kind of group. They are, like, they're not always good people, but generally the entire group is, like, you know, freedom, but generally do the right thing, you know? So, that's why there's a lot of more oppressive countries that don't like them. Because, as much as they're generally not being people that would overthrow things, it's ideas they don't always want in their countries.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's an interesting thing. I do like the organized play, and it's nice to see for their Starfinder Society we're getting a version of information for the playtest.
Yes.
So, they put a bunch of links at the bottom for everything, and apparently there's some stuff on the Playtest.com, the Playtest website, and they talk about it basically that they, you know, this is if you're dealing with organized play, you can try out the second edition stuff, basically.
Yep.
So it's really cool. I'm glad they're putting it out there. It means that you don't, because again, organized play is a great way for a lot of people that can't really get groups together, even online, which still can be a challenge. If you have a local game store you can go out to and play at.
Yeah, I mean, here's, like, you get more out of... so the thing is about, like, online, like, trying to find groups online is that you always get that risk of, you know, people put, like, if you're in one of these things, you don't have to pay for Starfinder for the Society play, do you?
I don't think you do. The people that run stuff will probably buy scenarios and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think you can. I feel like I've heard that you can, but you usually don't. I feel like there's like a whole thing with it. I don't know why. Anyway.
I don't remember the system for it. It's been a while.
Yeah. Anyway, because it's just like there's also the point though where it's like you like online, yeah, you get a lot more. In my opinion, you get a lot more volatile people like online. I haven't done any society play or adventure league, but I'd want to try. But I suspect you get a lot more volatile people online just because a lot more introverts look online.
Again, as someone that we have good experience of it. Like, first off, I have good experience because back in the day when I first started streaming and trying to organize looking for people online, you know, and I found a couple of people that were really good to play with. Rachel, who's a friend of the show, who's done stuff with me, survival games and stuff, just, you know, had a kid, so got really busy, so hasn't really done a lot of stuff, you know, but still good friend. I met her through trying to randomly recruit people. I met a few other people, none of them stuck around. It's the same way of thinking about, like, how long it took us to find a group of people for Joe's game that could stick around.
Yeah.
We went through a couple of extra people because of that.
Yeah. Yep, and that's gonna happen. And, like, that's why I'm planning to do, like, an online search for people soon-ish. And I mean, part of me wants to say, if you see this, if you see this anytime soon, hit me up. But because I'm planning to run, basically, I'm going to be like, okay, this is going to be like a 5 to 6 game session thing. Literally, I'm just going to block, or a 6 game session thing. I'm going to just block out the next 2 months, please. If you can't make it the whole time, don't apply.
I think it's the beauty of organized play in a way, because you have it that you are.
You can jump in and out.
You can jump in and out, and you can play the same people every week. Or if you can't arrive there, it's also fun. You know, it's got some big advantages that. So again, it's not a guarantee of getting a lot of those, but it does help out. And you don't have it is with a lot of that, less of that work. Yes, you can find some great people to play with. Yes, you can find some things where you can solidly be around for a period of time. But it's not a guarantee. You know, and this is a little bit more of a guarantee, you know, it's an organized thing. You expect a certain level of organization.
Yeah. You can expect that the GM will probably be there on time every week.
That's very true. They're going to be on time, they're going to be set up, and and whatever adventure you're going to have is going to be the adventure for that day, you know, and you could then you could whatever's next. Alright, why don't we, because there really wasn't much else, I did look through a bunch of other things. It looks like another week where we can talk about the 2024 information.
Yes.
Okay. Where did I start with what I want to say here?
I mean, I'm gonna start just by saying what we have now. Besides so we had last week we talked about fighters, paladins, and barbarians.
Yep.
This week we have wizards, rangers, warlocks, rogues, and druids. Is that the rest of them?
Yes.
2, 3,
warlocks,
4,
rangers, rogues.
No, that's only 7, and there are 10 classes. So yeah, we have 3 more. So we might talk about this again next week.
Yes, there is still 3 more, but we have basically a big chunk of what was remaining. With this week, which is nice. You know, we do have a good idea about everything that's going on for a lot of the classes. Okay. Before I get critical here, let me kind of put a little bit out here and say, I do love 5th edition. I do love it. It's a great system. It's wonderful. It's very easy. It did help revitalize the RPG scene in a lot of ways, and bring a lot of new people into it, which has been both good and bad in a lot of ways. You know, it's the expansion of a industry can lead to problems. There's been some problems. There's certainly been things, a lot of unfortunate, like old school gatekeeping, which I don't understand, but certain people are like that.
I actually feel, and here's the thing. That's what I almost like about what 5th edition did, is it kind of eliminated a lot of that.
it did a good job walking away from that.
Yeah, like that's the thing is there are so many more friendly invites into RPGs rather than the whole gatekeeping thing, which I feel like was very prevalent before 5th edition.
I mean, it still unfortunately exists, especially with everything that's happening now. It's kind of brought it back to the forefront. I've heard some people talk about it, that it's like if you really look online, the discourse has begun to pop up again.
Yes, but also no, because it's like that discourse is still there, but there's so much of the other discourse of, yeah, come, just fine, you're good, you know, don't worry about it, that it kind of doesn't. I think it's because it's gotten the average person's gotten so into. Yeah, it's the vocal minority. I would 100% agree with that.
I do agree with that, but I think the vocal minority still exists again, and they're back at it again. Anyway.
Yeah. They've gotten a little bit more vocal.
Especially with a lot of stuff going on with the 2 editions kind of that we have now after 10 years of basically a slight overhaul for the game. So I'm going to say here, 5th edition, again, really love it. I think it's a really simple system, great for beginners. Probably one of the best systems for beginners. If you want to dive into a game, I will recommend 5th edition. Either form, actually, at this point in time, is probably a great place to start with new people. Okay. It has huge problems, like Volkswagen Buick-sized problems, that 5th edition has always had, and they've done a good job over the years of fixing things. And yes, I think this is an argument that's a really great argument, but I do have to preface this argument because it's one that sometimes people use to excuse a lot of stuff, and that's the rules are made to be broken, you could just homebrew. That is very true. I'm not going to argue against it. But the thing is, you want something to start out from that you and your people you're playing with evolve beyond. And I'm going to be honest, as a person that runs a lot of games, I prefer when I don't have to do an incredible amount of work to fix the system I'm running.
I generally prefer to do as much work as possible to fix the system I'm running, but that's just me.
But you also add extra levels of complexity, which I accept, but I'm not really necessarily looking for that complexity unless I go to a different system.
I want tactical, which is actually why I think part of me likes a lot of what's been happening is because I very much prefer tactical combat, and I feel like 5e, the main thing I hate, 2014 5e, the main thing I hate about it is how problematic it is. It's like there's so few good tactical options in it. It's like most of it's just damage or don't do anything.
And that's the thing is they are adding more tactical combat, more tactical options, I should say, with a lot of the updates, which is a good thing, definitely. I will agree. The thing is, like with tactical combat, is just because you have it doesn't mean you necessarily have to use it in certain systems. I feel for the 5e upgrades, it gives it more of an option.
Yep.
It's why I think there was some issues with 4th edition, is it was a pure tactical game, and you couldn't get away from tactics.
I agree that was problematic, because, I've seen it played now, and it's... Also, it was a lot of a slog. Actually, I've actually seen some I listened to a podcast that did 4E for a while before they switched to 5E. This is an old podcast that I'm just listening to, and they basically at one point the GM basically said, I'm getting so tired of these combats going forever that they just that it's like I was able to, and he just said I was able to speed it up by having them deal double damage and have half health.
And that's the thing is...
He got tired with how long it was because it was so tactical. Combat focused.
It was very combat focused. And I feel like that's why, it was a very mixed bag on the way. Especially because I played through some pre-made adventures, and I had a lot of good times. But I also recognize that, the slog of the combat wasn't necessarily great. There were some good ideas, it was great for tactical, but you couldn't get rid of the tactical, and it wasn't never not an option. And that's the thing is, I feel like when you have tacticals as an option, and it's only part of your bag, it's the difference between always needing a board you're playing on, a VTT, or board you're playing on, if you're physically there, or just being able to do Fear to the Mind.
Yep.
Because, if I take, Pathfinder 1st Edition, I can certainly have a board or VTT. Or I've played where it's just been Theater of the Mind, and it works just fine. You do have to keep certain things simple when it comes to combat. But, even then, you can still have a great time and a challenge for combats.
Are you telling me you don't keep track of complex geometry in your head when you're doing theater of the mind with your friends? Because I do that.
Hell no.
I'm like, okay, he's over here. He's 50 spaces 30 feet away. Okay, okay, let me do the Pythagorean theorem real fast. Okay, yeah, you go that far.
Look, I studied math for like a lot of years. I like math. I went to college for math. Even I'm like, no.
Yeah. Okay, I'll be honest. I don't keep that much track, but I'm just. But I do actually think about, okay, so about how far are they? I do keep track of stuff like that.
Oh yeah, well I do that kind of thing where you keep track of how far things are in your mind a little bit. You're this far.
Yeah.
Anyway, so having an update to 2014 D&D is great. I'm going to tell you that now. There's a lot of things that could be fixed, a lot of things that could be added. It sounds like what they're doing is making a lot of the optional rules from, I think it was Tasha's, part of the main rules, from what we've heard, and making a lot of things that were common homebrew stuff also just part of the rules.
For example, bonus action potion.
Yes, we talked about that last week, and that was a big one part of it. So, now I have to preference. The only class here I didn't get a good dive into was Ranging. But I looked into a little bit, and I saw some people do some videos. So I didn't watch the full videos myself, but I saw some people give some summaries of this stuff. Of Wizard, Warlock, Rogue, and Druid. Fundamentally, none of them are changed majorly. The ones that got the most changes out of those four are Rogue and Druid. After that, it's basically what it was. Except for some tweaks. I think that is an important thing to say. It does mean, the more we look at this, the more the stuff stays the same, the more it might not be as bad having that, like, if you have someone that's got an older character they're bringing in, that's built in the old rules, but you're playing with the new rules, which is supposed to be the version of battle we can have, won't really have a hard time. And I think I said this last week, and you're probably not going to necessarily have a hard time, because again, it's 5e, and the differences between your characters are going to be so mild, honestly.
Yeah. You might be a little bit, and as you kind of said before, I feel like you'll definitely, if you're bringing in an older character, you're going to fare on the side of underpowered than overpowered, with the exception of Paladin, but anyway.
Paladin has been nerfed a little bit, yeah. I feel like mechanically, even with my complaints about Paladin, mechanically it's not going to be much difference. I just think that, so the way they've done some things might lessen some other abilities that they would use, basically. And for me, it was just spell selection. I've got to be honest, again, I'll say, if I had the choice between the Divine Smite spell and any of the other spells that are Smite spells, I'm probably going to choose Divine Smite. Not all the time, but 90% of the time. I used to use those other ones and combine with Divine Smite. So,
I mean, I used to actually use them. I do like Thundering Smite. There's also another one which makes it so they can't go invisible. That one's also useful from time to time, although you have to be fighting something that will go invisible, which is,
And I think it's also going to come down to how they balance monsters, too. Because if the balance of monsters makes a difference, that it isn't, that pure damage won't be as important anymore, it might not be a problem.
Yeah,
and that's
I think
another thing,
the reason I like the other smites is because they do allow for tactical options. However, the one thing I dislike about Branding Smite is concentration. Okay, so the more I play D&D video games, the more I realize how terrible concentration is as it currently stands. And I hope they made some corrections to it.
I have no idea. I don't think we've heard anything about it.
No, we have not. Because currently the base is a DC 10. You cannot go lower than a DC 10 save for concentration.
Mm-hmm.
However, most of the spellcasting classes do not have Constitution proficiency. Meaning, you're most likely getting a +1 or 2. It's basically a 50-50 chance every time you're hit. So you only have to be hit an average of about 2 to 3 times to lose concentration on a spell. And there are a lot of, and that includes AoE spell, and so the AoE spells, just a single arrow from a guy from a range, etc. And when it and here's the thing, the DC can only go higher than 10. So if you take more than 20 damage, or 22 damage basically or more, your DC goes up. Because it's half the damage or DC 10, whichever is higher. So either you need a way to keep concentrating on spells because even if taking damage, or you basically just need to increase the base DC should be like a quarter the damage or 5, whichever is lower. That's the only way it's gonna be fair.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, most people forget about concentration, so it doesn't come into play as much. But mechanically, if you're playing a video game where concentration is a thing, and every time you're hit, every time.
Interestingly enough, having played a bunch of 5e games, concentration actually pops up surprisingly a lot. We've remembered it, at least in both River and Momo and Lightning's games. They remember concentration. Again, it could be depending on the person around you, but I know that we've certainly faced it a bunch of times.
Yeah, but haste, I'm looking at if you unless you're facing mindless monsters, if your enemies have a single tactical lick of sense, they're gonna target that caster who's holding haste on their warrior.
Yeah.
You know,
okay. So
anyway, sorry. I just wanted to say I hope that changes.
That's a reasonable side tangent in this entire discussion because we're talking the 2024 release. I'm going to start with
hoping that changes.
Yeah, I'm going to start with the Rogue and Druid because, as I said, they are still fundamentally the same, but they have the biggest changes. Okay, so just going to go over them quickly. Rogues get some Weapon Mastery. That's a good thing. Weapon Mastery always gives some cool abilities. I think that was one of the coolest things they've added is the Weapon Mastery stuff. Thumbs up on that one. Giving depending on the weapon you use, you get little extras. Neat. Their 4 subclasses are changed by a little bit. Arcane Tricksters can swap out cantrips as they level. Let's see, the Assassin has some different abilities that are easier to trigger, so you're better.
Yeah. The current Assassin, if I'm not mistaken, you have to most of your stuff is only on initiative, so you want to have a very high initiative and go first.
It's better. I can't give you the full rundown, but I remember when they talk about it. It's easier to trigger a bunch of different things, basically. So you have a bonus. Soul Knife. There's the Vex Mastery property on their Psychic Blades. I'm not a big idea of what's going on with Soul Knights and Psychics and stuff like that, so I can't tell you. Thieves can activate magic items as a bonus action and remain hidden after attacking. So that's a big advantage for Thieves, is that if you have a really good hide, you don't have to attack and hide again. You can actually snipe as a thief. That sounds like something really cool for the Thief subclass. That makes it worthwhile to play it.
Mm-hmm.
Steady Aim, which was a extra feature for rogues from Tasha's Cauldron Everything, now base feature. And now the big thing is they have Cunning Strike, where they can trade Sneak Attack for extra effects, like tripping, poisoning, withdrawing. We'll talk about that in a second here. Reliable Talent moved from 11 to 7. So it's earlier levels that you can take 10s on stuff. Let's see here. Blind Sense was removed because it was just confusing. Slippery Mind grants proficiency in Wisdom.
Reliable Talent is really good.
Yes, it is, but it's earlier levels.
Yeah, so it's just you can never be lower than a 10.
Yeah, it's good. It's now lower levels. Slippery Mind gives proficiency to both Wisdom and Charisma saves. Cool. Charisma saves don't come up that much, so I'm okay with them giving that one also.
Do you know if they're going to be spreading saves around more? Have they talked about that?
I haven't heard anything about
Or are they going to keep the
saves.
3 major, 3 minor, like they had before?
Yeah, haven't heard anything about that. So, don't know. And their Stroke of Luck is you could use that, and when you use it and you miss on the attack, you consider it a critical hit instead, and use your Stroke of Luck. So, I guess the Stroke of Luck gives you some kind of bonus. I think that's the 20 capstone for Rogue. Yeah, I don't remember what it did.
Stroke of Luck was their old capstone as well. You have an uncanny knack for succeeding. If you miss a target within range, you can turn the miss into a hit. Alternatively, if you fail an ability check, you can treat the D20 rolls of 20.
Okay, so
basically, you could,
it now becomes a critical.
So basically, you can so if you fail, you can turn it into a crit rather than just a miss.
And I think that's what once per long rest probably ability.
Once per short or long rest.
Oh, so short rest. Still, that's pretty good. That you can be like once on a miss, you can turn it into a crit. Yep. So, I think the best thing that I heard.
So you can either. So that basically means you can either turn a failed ability check into a 20, or a failed attack roll into a 20. So you can do both now.
Here's the juxtaposition of what I heard about Cunning Strike, which I think is something I highly agree with, which is a very interesting idea. Sneak attack damage hasn't been changed for rogues. Cunning Strike is really neat, a cool idea, gives some cool things, but you're trading the damage a rogue can deal for it. And those aren't always worth the trade-off in a lot of circumstances. It can be, but it means that it's still like, because damage output for a rogue has always been an important thing, you know. Your sneak attack is what a rogue does. It gives a big chunk of damage. And you're trading damage for these things. It's the juxtaposition, are they worth it or not? And sometimes they might be. Sometimes they certainly might be. But
here's my thoughts on this. This is actually something I always disliked about Thief. The Thief rogue is that it was always very utility based.
Yeah. Yeah.
But sneak attack is still very damage based. This is actually kind of nice. Also, like withdraw is nice. Like the withdraw one, hit an enemy with withdraw, so you hit them and then you can move away. So basically, it turns into a free disengage upon attack, which is nice.
I'm not saying these aren't bad, but maybe a slight buff to sneak attack to make the trade worthwhile a little bit more might not have been a bad idea. Because again, you want to encourage that.
Can I make a point as well?
Yeah.
You only drop sneak attack damage by 1d6 when you use these.
Isn't the higher ones more? And normally you start being able to use more than one eventually. These original
At higher
ones
levels, you get additional cunning strike options, add 2 effects to a single sneak, and get to add 2 effects. Yeah, so you can add more, but so basically, but you're only reducing the sneak attack die. You're only losing 1 dice of your sneak attack when you use an option.
For those early ones, I think the higher ones are probably more. For the ones,
probably, but at that point you have more sneak attack. I mean, rogues get up to a sneak attack die every 2 levels. So
yeah, but still, even then, like, if it's an effect that requires something like a save or a check to make sure it's correct, you're giving up guaranteed damage for the possibility of someone rolling something. Granted, the withdrawal is very good because it doesn't require the enemy to have any kind of check or anything.
So here's my thought on this. Yes, but here's the thing. Let's say you go before your warrior, your fighter. Mm-hmm. You do trip. They're now prone. And now he can use...
automatically trip, or do they get a check or something?
They've failed dexterity saving throw. But I'm saying you can trade a potential trip, which could then there's tactics, there's always risk involved. But then you can get your fighter with Great Weapon Master to do their automatic +10 because they now have advantage to attack them. You know, there's reasons to do it.
I'm saying that it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I'm thinking because of the nature of it, it is one of those juxtapositions of, I think when you call the power scaling and some of the buffs they've had and other things, this tends to be a good idea, but it limits the power of the rogue a little bit. So it's actually just dropping the rogue's power a little bit for a really cool tactical idea that I do agree is really awesome and needed. It's just, again, like, guaranteed damage versus something that they have to make a save or a check for is one of those things. Is how high is your DC going to be? How difficult is it going to be? There's a lot of questions that you have to ask.
Skills up your dexterity, and if you're a rogue, you should have a 20 in that.
Which is, again, it's good. It's like with a wizard making a check, too. But, you know, it's... Yeah. It's one of those things, again, like, maybe like an extra 1 or 2 sneak attack dice in there may have been a little bit better for keeping the balance, you know?
Yeah, and I think this is where we kind of differ on opinion, where it's just like, I very much value tactical options. Like, I very much value, and I'm totally down for... I mean, I know you do. That's not what I'm saying. Oh, sorry, I should clarify. Like, I don't know. It's just kind of like, I always felt like there's this idea that guarantee, or it's I mean, it's not even guaranteed damage. You could roll a 1, you could roll a 6. It's average 3.5.
I agree with that one. It's the average of 3.5. I think it's the thing that it's the sum cost fallacy that I understand a lot of players go through the choice of making. Whether or not I want to guarantee something or I want to allow an extra check. Even if my DC is high, it is an extra check.
Yes.
And I think that's the thing too, is in that kind of game terms, extra checks are usually worse than, guaranteed something or other. Not always, but in general, they kind of have, like, mathematically, statistically.
That is actually true. I mean, there's a whole thing with, you are right. Statistically, it's better to,
That's why I wanted something more to make these, like, not damage from what a rogue could do already, but also give them the tactical options. I love them having the tactical options. I agree,
Oh yeah, and I agree that these three, out of them all, withdraw is the only one that gives a guaranteed outcome.
Yeah, it's very
which
good.
is good.
I
agree. I mean, they can already disengage as a as a bonus action, but it's still nice to be able to use your bonus action
for something
for like a dash.
Yeah.
Especially because they can dash, disengage, or hide. So imagine attacking, disengaging, and then hiding. So you can get advantage on your next attack.
I do think it definitely at lower levels, things like the tripping and poison aren't bad either, necessarily, because granted, physical saves, especially Dex and Constitution, tend to be... Dex, Constitution, Strength, any of those saves tend to be higher in a lot of creatures, or... Like, for Dex saves, like, it's...
Con tends to be a lot higher, which is why poison would... Like, actually, that's the one
thing I
really hate.
And there's so much poison resistance and stuff, too.
I think they're going to be toning that down, the poison resistance. They did say they were planning to.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything is a resistant and immune to poison, and...
Yeah, that's the other thing, too, is I want to see how much they've actually toned it down for that.
As far as prone goes...
It's not bad.
There's a lot of benefit. Honestly, the one downside to prone is that there's also a penalty for ranged. So it's
penalty for ranged, bonus for melee, and the thing is, the trip, I think, intrinsically, it's not a bad thing, but, like, because of how easy it is to undo it, and the check.
Yeah, you literally have to go. You need a heavy hitter to go. Yeah, you're going to need your heavy hitter to go between you and your enemy.
I think that's, again, the idea is, if it was less situational for when I could use it, I would use it more often. It could just be hindering, like, cut something's speed by half. Could be very useful. In a lot of circumstances. And it's like, I would still, if it's a situation where I can't take advantage, no one can take advantage of that trip, I'm not going to do it, even if it gives that little bonus, because that bonus is that better than damage. I don't know. Again, it's kind of like, getting an enemy dead is oftentimes better than allowing the enemy to have a weakened attack or turn.
Something I actually do kind of dislike about what they've given so far? There's no ways to help your friends succeed. Well, actually,
that'd be cool. I know what you're saying. Yeah, assist another.
I'm more saying like make it so an enemy has a harder time. Not even disadvantage. I'd actually want a penalty like a -5 or -3. To like a check, like a saving throw, because there's just kind of this thing where it's like saving throws, at best, end up being close. Like at their best, hit usually about 1 in 4.
And I will say, the Cunning Strike options at 14th level are very, 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 very good. Blinded, Unconscious, and Limited Action Economy, those are really good. Those are the kind of things that I'm like, that's I really like. Again, it's 14th level.
I see those.
Yeah. And that's still
66 is a lot.
Yeah. And again, it's a check still too that I'm guessing it's going to have against it, which maybe our DC is high enough, maybe it's not. It's a trade-off, And those are very, very, very good things to do to someone. You have to be 14th level to do it, which means they're going to high-level play, which means, again, we have to hope that high-level play for D&D 5e is going to be improved by all this. If it is, I will be very happy about the update. I'm not going to lie. As soon as someone says to me, hey, you can play into high levels in 5e and not worry about a lot of the problems we had before, I will be so happy and on board for a lot of the changes they've done. I'm on board.
They did promise better balance for high-end monsters.
So again, there's some things that if they can, I'm not up for a lot of the prices behind all this, but the concept behind it, I certainly am. Okay.
Yeah.
But this is the rook. Okay, so that's what we kind of know. I think that's a good chat about that.
Yeah, we can go on to the druid. You said was the other one that was very changed.
Okay, I can talk about the druid a little bit. So, some changes in the way that wild shape works. This is the big thing here. I'm going to tell you now. I think it's both very good and and bad that what changes the wild shape. What I'm going to tell you now, the good part about it is wild shape is now more utility than ever. It is more of a utility thing because you get more uses of it. It's a lot easier for you to do that, kind of all that kind of stuff. The thing about it is, battle wild shape forms are now really much less existent. So you're not going to be using wild shape for combat the same way you were before.
Oh, yeah, it's not as tanky.
It's not as tanky. Yep. You're now getting temporary hit points. And the Moon Druid
to your druid level, which is
not a lot.
At high levels, it's not worth it. At low levels,
the Moon Druid, I will say, gets twice your level, which is better, but
it'd need to be 3 times to be worth it.
Yeah. So you do get more uses of wild shape.
I should clarify. It's fine. That's the thing. It just means that they're not the auto tank that they were before.
Yes, the auto tank.
Or it's
that's the thing is.
Okay,
that's the thing is.
Okay, I'm down. Bear again. Okay, I'm down. Bear again.
Here's the thing I'm going to say about it, though. It really didn't break Druid. It was just silly.
I agree. Because that's the thing is, because of the rollover damage, you could go down pretty easily if you get a heavy hit at low HP.
Yeah. So you did have to worry about if you got low HP that the carryover could do a lot. And there's a lot of things about it that are just kind of silly about the entire situation. So it's sort of like one of those things that I'm like, okay, this is interesting.
You can speak in beast form now. I just saw that.
Yes, you can speak in beast form now.
Honestly, there are so many tables that ignore that anyway.
You now know certain forms. When you finish a long rest, you can replace one form with another eligible one. So you can just change out those forms. And the CR remains the same with what you can, and with, you can fly now, or swim in out early levels, but flying you can't do to 8, which is the same as it was before. It's just the swimming already is unlocked at level 2. Let's see here. You can expend spell slots to regain wild shape now. Now, rather than having unlimited at level 20, when you roll initiative and have no wild shape, you regain it. And you regain 1 on a short rest and all on a long rest. So you get more uses of it also, so it's a lot of balancing out of using wild shapes. You get a Primal Strike, which you can add some damage. At 7 elemental damage when you're in your beast form. And yes. This one's just kind of like a weird one. The optional rule in Tasha's where you could use wild shape, use Find Familiar, they have that as part of it.
Yeah, which I'm curious if they're going to change Find Familiar.
I think they have, from what they've talked about. It is better. It has certain stats, and it's much better.
Yeah.
So again, this is much more of a...
Yeah, I had issues before, and the whole thing about using a touch attack with your familiar was trash because there was only one touch attack in the entire game.
They do talk about Circle the Moon, because that's the one you really have to talk about when you're changing wild shape like this, and it does get a lot of other bonuses and stuff like that. Better forms, you can do radiant damage, with their forms and stuff like that. So they've done some stuff to try to help out. Circle the Moon, particularly because it, they want stuff to still balance it out, and it seems like it's interesting ideas. So I feel like intrinsically, Druid is very still the same. It pretty much is. It's just Wild Shape has been overhauled a lot in a lot of ways. I have heard some people express some concerns that we will have to wait and see until everything's put out here, that the essence of what a druid is, being very unique as its own class, is a little less, in this version to the other version. Like, comparing a druid to, like, just being another cleric almost happens in certain ways. Because druids and clerics do share a lot of similarities, especially in 5e, I would say. Like, the big thing with Wild Shape being the main difference.
Yeah.
They're both wisdom-based spellcasters with very similar spell lists. Not completely the same, but very similar ideas and spell lists. And, yeah, that is an issue that exists within that, and I feel like finding that difference between them, voice-wise, is a challenge. But hopefully we're not moving them closer together, we're moving them farther apart. I think the worry is with Wild Shape becoming like this, it does almost move them closer together, because they're going to be more reliant on their spells and less on their wild shapes.
I disagree. I disagree, and here's why.
Okay.
Because you are not knocked out of Wild Shape until you are down.
No, okay, that's true.
So you actually have you have your whole hit point, and you don't have to, because that's the thing with the old Wild Shape, you had to turn into a bear, which often had only 20 hit points, when even at the point when you were at a level 10, you were you'd have way more than that.
There was limited on the CRs you could do.
Yeah. So because CRs were so much lower than your actual level, the hit points of the monsters, some of those monsters could deal a lot of damage, but they didn't have the hit points to back it up, or oftentimes AC. Granted, AC will still be an issue.
The thing is also that you can cast spells in Beast form now because you can speak.
I see what you mean. I didn't make that connection.
Yes. See, that's why I'm actually I'm going to kind of put the middle ground here, because those were arguments I heard, and your argument is kind of the opposite end. I'm going to go on the middle ground here and say, I definitely want to wait and see the full build and everything with it to see how it balances out. I do think that is an issue, generally speaking, with the concepts between druids and stuff like that we're not, flavor-wise, making them too different in a lot of ways, which kind of sucks. But I think that's always kind of been a little bit of a problem for druid, comparison to cleric. I
always kind of saw druid as a nature cleric.
It kind of...
Even though
I think that's the thing, is that's why it kind of is that same comparison. It just feels like a nature cleric in some ways, when it really should... I think 3rd edition did a good job, which kind of reflects to Pathfinder a little bit in original 1st edition, because you got specifically a wild shape, which was pretty important, and an animal companion, and those were pretty big parts of it, and I feel like they had enough of spell lists different at the time. I think that's the simplicity in 5e, because we had a lot smaller of a spell list, and we really didn't add a lot of extra spells. There wasn't a lot of differentiation between the two because of that. Which, again, there is some. I'm not saying there isn't any. But I think there's some cool ideas here with the changes in Wild Shape that could make them more unique. Though on the surface it doesn't look that way.
My thought about complaining about the similarities between Druid and Cleric is kind of like complaining about the similarities between Sorcerer and Wizard, where it's just I
agree on that one.
It's because they're kind of the same archetype, but they're different flavors of it.
Mm-hmm. I think that's, again, where the people I'm going to say this, Pathfinder 2nd Edition did it best. Where Sorcerer gets spell lists depending on your bloodline. So yes, you can have a sorcerer that has spells just like a wizard, or there are sorcerers that use divine spells, or primal spells, or occult spells. So that makes it very much more unique that Sorcerer is very interesting that way. Differentiated it a lot more. I like that.
Yeah, that is cool. Yeah, so I think this is like, I think it has some good and bad bits. Like moon druids are going to be weaker because they can't change into something the CR of their level, which at your level monsters often have higher hit points than you.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Normal druids will be better off with their wild shapes. Their wild shapes will actually still be usable. Because that's the thing. There's almost no point using, like in current one, there's almost no point, in my opinion, of using a wild shape outside of utility for current druids.
Okay, like the 2014, the base class gets so you can speak in beast form, but you can't cast spells other than if you circle the moon. So Circle the Moon begins to be able to cast spells at third level. So that's the advantage of Circle the Moon.
So Circle of the Moon is basically the spellcasting animal. I like it.
That's a very interesting direction.
So they can still be so Circle of the Moon is still the combat wild shaper.
Yep.
But yeah, you're right. They still have to focus a lot more on their spells. However, as I've made a problem with Constitution before, they have the Constitution generally in an animal form to actually concentrate on things while being hit.
Yep.
So that might actually be beneficial for actually being someone who can sustain. Also, I just remembered there's a whole problem of you can only concentrate on one thing at a time, which makes the concept of a buffer kind of pointless.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the thing, that there really hasn't been like buff classes at all, which, you know, has just been an issue, I think, with 5th edition, which I would like for them. I don't know if they fixed it, that you can actually get some like actually buff.
Yeah, part of me thinks that a very good option, and I thought of this semi-recently, and if they don't do this, I might homebrew it into my games. You can concentrate on a number of spells based on your intelligence modifier, minimum 1.
Maybe that would be an interesting one, but maybe proficiency. They like proficiency.
They do like proficiency. And if you are hit and you fail a concentration check, you only lose 1 and you choose which one.
That'd be really cool. I think that's a really good one where, you know, it could open up to a bunch of concentration spells, and higher level characters that have a lot more options could do it because of proficiency based, while at early levels, or it could be proficiency -1 even, like, you know, so you only start with 1 at first level, you know.
Yep.
That'd be right. But Circle the Moon, it does have some really cool
I just wanted to. The only reason I thought intelligence, that's true. Intelligence would be problematic because that would assume the wizard to be the best buffer, which is not usually what they do. Although they could be, actually. Wizards are a lot more versatile in the way they do that.
I mean, maybe not as much anymore because those subclasses went away.
Oh, yeah. So my But the main reason I would think intelligence is just to give more reason for people to pick intelligence. Intelligence is a very common dump stat in 5e.
Yeah. But again, so I think this is another thing with the druid is you are much more encouraged to use your wild shapes for things other than combat, which I think is good. You know, like, I choose to change into a bat to, you know, scout. I change into a mouse
because you get more uses of it, and you can speak. Because I mean, I'm running into this problem in our Pathfinder game where it's like, to tell you guys any information, I have to burn my use.
Yep. It's like, let me go scout out everything and be back. It's kind of like almost what you have to say.
Yep.
Because, yes, you can try to sign language things, but it's also like you have to make a check and they have to make a check to understand it, and it might just not end up well. It's like, what is the mouse trying to tell me?
Yep. So yeah, that's. I mean, if I could just speak, that'd be nice.
So
I also just like the idea of squeak. I'm a mouse. Squeak. Not that you couldn't make the animal noises. I just find the idea funny.
Here's something that we do have to say. Why don't we talk about Wizard for a second here? Because Wizard, other than having less subclasses right now, at least, again, they might reintroduce the other schools. But they just have the 4 ones, which were pretty popular ones.
We actually, they were popular because they were the only good ones. We talked about this last week, which is why it's like, they figured they took the most popular ones. Well, they were popular because they're only ones that were good.
You could have fixed the others. Yeah. And again,
swap one prepared spell at a short rest. I was literally gonna like talk about homebrewing like this into like I was gonna almost ask Joe if I could homebrew something like this, because like it really is annoying how you just like are so locked into your spells every day. Oh, I love this. Sorry, I want this so I okay.
You can replace a
kind
cantrip of a long rest too, which isn't necessarily super useful, but could be. You said that, you know?
No, that is very useful. I mean, I kind of. Yeah, I mean, think about it. You can have a lot of utility ones, and then switch out your damage dealing one based on what area you're going into.
Yeah.
Which I think, you know, like, so I think there's use to that, but
they get expertise and a knowledge, which is really cool.
I love that as well because they're kind of supposed to be the bookworm.
I think that's
Does
the
that
thing.
Does that have to be a knowledge skill? Probably.
The scholar, I can go down to it. It's Arcana, History, Investigation, Medicine, Nature, Religion. So medicine and investigation are not, but it is basically a lot of the ones that are naturally intelligence-based. Except for medicine.
Which I'm totally fine with.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just there's some quality of life improvements definitely that exist in here for the wizard. Some schools have had their, you know, stuff upgraded. I'm not going to go deep into that if you want to check it out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the idea of having certain spells always prepared is nice.
Again, they have to be the casting time of one action. The Spellmaster, though. That does limit some things. The Spell Mastery just used to be any spell, but I think someone made a joke that I heard that if they just did this to get rid of the problem of 18th level Silvery Barbs, then because Silvery Barbs is the thing that every wizard does. So it's like if one of your spells is Silvery Barbs, because that's a reaction that you spell mastery, you just have it on all the time, because that is just one of those wizard spells that's all the time kind of used. So now it has to be spelled with an action. I mean, it's again, this is one of those things. It's probably not really a bad change necessarily, but it's sort of like whatever. It does again limit certain spells you can't spell mastery, but 99% of the 95% of the spells you sort of cast is that.
I've just never seen the spell before. I should pick
Silvery
it up
Barbs?
on my character.
Oh yeah, Silvery Barbs is like the go all wizard spell. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's a first level enchantment where from Strixhaven that a wizard just is like you reroll.
That's really nice for a first level spell. Not honestly, in some ways, it's in some ways better than Shield. In some ways, worse. Having both is nice.
Yes, I will agree.
Anyway,
but again, with the Spellmaster's 18th level anyway, so like whatever the fuck, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's some small quality of life, but otherwise wizards are pretty much the same. So yep. Not a lot of changes to wizards. Just a few quality.
Oh, I see now. Yeah, because like they could get like one. Okay, I see what you mean now. Yeah, because even Shield always prepared would be broken.
Yep.
Like casting time, and you can swap out a new spell at any time rather than both. However, the chosen spell in that cast is always prepared and can be swapped out as long. Yeah, like that's because those are the kind of things I would use. That like mage armor, shield, those kinds that are like you're always gonna need them. Mage armor less so. There are actually ways around mage armor, but
oh no, it actually was worse. I have to tell for the spell mastery because they did like the original spell mastery is this. Choose a first level or second level wizard spell. So very bars. First level. You can cast those spells at their lowest level without expending a spell slot when you have them prepared.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So that was the entire thing. Is they had basically infinite silvery barbs.
Or infinite shield, or infinite, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, infinite hellish rebuke. Is that a spell, wizard spell?
I think warlock, but still, I don't know.
You're right, that is warlock.
You could probably get it with certain things. There are certain ways you could build to actually have a spell you can cast, you know?
Yeah. So,
definitely.
like, no, like, those kind of reactions, like, you could build, like, a wizard you know, well, you don't want to be hit as a wizard, so Hellish Rebuke isn't great. But like the defensive ones, yeah, no, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, and it sounds like you're still going to be able to cast them infinitely. They're just going to have casting time of an action, meaning you can't also have infinite, like, identify, for instance.
Yeah.
Which
but again,
I think is also kind of fair.
It's a first or second level spell that you can cast in first or second level spell.
Infinite knock.
Yeah. But at 18th level, I mean, like...
Yeah. Which I actually think is a action anyway, so never mind.
And again, because you're not casting at higher levels, it does limit a lot of what these things can do anyway. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's not great. It's not great for...
It's if you want, like, infinite low-level magic missiles, or infinite knocks, or something like that. It's good, but it's not, like, super great. And I think, like, things like Silvery Barbs, where you have... you can cast
Silvery
one
Barbs
turn.
and Shield.
Yeah, where you can cast every turn. Yeah. That could be kind of bad. So I can see why it may specifically be for something like that, the way they've worded that.
Yeah.
It's a joke, but it actually could be.
It's a joke, but it's actually a problem in high-level play, especially when you actually get down to it. There was another... Yeah.
Probably some more reactions or, like, other longer spells from first or second level.
There are actually very few, but yeah, I could imagine some long casting spells be problematic.
Yep.
I'd have to, like, look for them, but I could see them being problematic.
But so, Wizard... Other than a couple of small, really nice things, like the Memorize spell that you mentioned, swapping out a spell of short rest, the expertise, there's not a lot of changes, you know? Switching out cantrips.
No permanent Expeditious Retreat, oh well.
It's quality of... It's just a lot of little quality of life things for Wizards. It's pretty similar, you know, I'm gonna say. I think even the,
Oh, no permanent Featherfall either. That one's kind of sad.
Yeah.
Actually, no, that makes sense too. No fall damage ever. For anyone in your party, yeah, okay, never mind. I think that's...
And, like, the 4 subclasses they have just been small improvements to them, too. So, okay. Warlock. So, we can talk about Warlock. So, again, here's the thing that I heard someone say, which I think is a great thing of saying it, is that for things like Warlock and Sorcerer or Cleric, where whatever your subclass is intrinsically linked to your person, you could just be, like, an initiate in it. Like, if you're a Warlock, you're like, oh, I've been trying to make a pact with an Archfang. I'm unlocking someone's power, but the full pact hasn't been unlocked till 3rd level. You could say something like that. It's
kind of like, I'm
in contact with it, but we haven't made a full deal yet. You know, that kind of thing.
Or even we've made a deal, but I'm not getting of its power yet because I have to prove myself.
Yeah, something like that. There's a lot of wording you can think about that it makes it okay for third level. The same with those other ones, which were originally first level stuff. Like, you know, a sorcerer is still a sorcerer. Like, you just maybe haven't figured out what the depths of your blood is. A cleric, you're still a religious person. You just haven't figured out, you know, what direction your deity wants to go in for your worship, you know. Sure. Anyway, so that's at 3rd level, okay. Some stuff has been updated for those. The other thing is Eldritch Invocations, which were at 3rd level, are now at 1st level. So the Pact Boons become Invocations, which you can select at level 1, and they're no longer limited as you level up. There's more Invocations you get at earlier levels. Cantrip buffing Invocations can work on other cantrips other than just Eldritch Blast, which is good.
Yeah, which I think is great. Yeah, Agonizing Blast, Repelling Blast, and I think there's one other one. The one that whips you or pulls you closer.
Invocations are not fueled by spell slots, with one exception, which they talk about later on.
So that's the thing. Yeah, so that's the thing that I always disliked, because some invocations where you can cast this once per short rest or once per long rest, the spell, and others where you gain this as onto your spell list, but you can as a spell slot. It's like, I'm not gonna waste an invocation to add something to my spell list.
Yeah,
a single spell.
So that's a little better. They have, once per long rest, you can do a ritual and restore half of your maximum pack magic spell slots, and all of them at level 20. So the special pack magic spell slots that you have, you can regain those, which again are now separate from evocations. Big thumbs up. You can use the contact other plane spell to communicate with your patron. That's just cool flavor.
Okay, yeah, and the only one that adds that uses a spell slot is Eldritch Smite, which does it's basically a version of Smite for warlocks.
Yeah, so that's why it specifically uses
a spell slot.
Spell slots. Yeah. Yeah, the contract patron is just contract of the plane.
Which I think gives a lot more power to the Pact of the Blade Warlock. That actually really can help them. You get 2 powerful hits per short rest.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
More.
Yeah. And then
do you get more spell slots at any point now, or do you
I don't know. We don't know the spell slot list. We haven't been given how many they have at this point.
Because I wouldn't mind you going from like 2 to 4 over time.
It might be just the same amount of spell slots you had before. Maybe.
Actually, wait. Did you increase? Maybe you did.
You did get more, but you never got a lot of spell slots.
I feel like you max out at 4, which is fine. Now that I'm remembering, I don't know why my brain just kind of thought you only ever got 2. But I also know you get them very late. Oh no, you get up to... Oh no, that's invocations. You get up to 4, but you don't get your 3rd one till level 11.
So
hopefully hopefully that skews downwards a little bit more, because literally... Yeah. Oh, you only start with 1. I forgot about that. Hopefully they skew that downwards a little bit more. I wouldn't mind getting 3 a little bit sooner.
Mystic Arcanum spells have been changed with Tasha's Cauldron Everything update, where they basically said when you gain a level, allows you to change them. So that's now part of the class. I think it used to be just like that was something that was added in Tasha's, where it was like another quality of life for Warlock. Hey, now it's part of the main class.
Hold on. They actually say your spell slot progression works the same, but you can also once per long rest you can also spend a minute to restore half of your maximum spell slots. Round it up.
Okay, so that's what it is. It's like a lot of your like invocations recover like maybe on short rest or stuff like that, and then your spell
so it's still
slots,
short rests. Yeah,
you get back half. Of them.
Yeah. You get them all back on a short rest as normal, but you can spend a minute to get half of them back.
I see.
Yeah. So you have another way to get them back once per long rest. So if you're going, your party doesn't have to stop for an hour for you, so you can.
That's pretty good. Yeah. So there's much easier to do a short rest. Okay, I see what that does now. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Archfey now.
So that is nice, because that was always the most annoying part about a warlock, is you basically have to short rest after every fight for them to maintain viability.
There's some updates to all the various patrons and their abilities and stuff like that, but they just did some updates, and yeah, I mean, again, like, I gotta be honest, Warlock is very much so got some quality of life and pretty Warlock. I think the quality of life things of like, oh, I can use my invocations for something other than Eldritch Blast. I get my invocations at 1st level, and I just get my patron at 3rd level.
You also get more. They say you also get more invocations than you normally would.
Yes,
which I assume, with none of them being fueled by spell slots, will mean you'll actually get a lot more optional spells, which is nice. So like some you'll be able to use long day. Yeah. So yeah. Also, I find this fun. Contact Patron at 9th level. You get Contact Other Plane as always prepared, and you can use, and you always succeed at your Intelligence saving throw to complete it.
So yes, but just again, keep in mind that like we do have to talk that the pack boons are now just invocations. So you can have a Pact of the Blade, Pact of the Chain, and a Pact of the Toad. You could technically have all 3 if you really wanted to, which would be really cool. It might not be the most effective character, but you can have them all. So yeah, Warlocks, fairly same. A lot of, again, I think this is the good standard of a lot of these classes. There's a lot of quality of life little switches around, but it's fairly the same, you know.
Yep.
So, and then Ranger, which I'm going to be going a little bit off the cuff because, hey, you know, this is the one I didn't.
Fun enough, I looked over this one a little bit before. Still probably not enough, but also I'll be fairly off the cuff. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. They do start at spellcasting at first level instead of second. I'm wondering if it's the same for Paladin. I didn't check Paladin spellcasting because they are probably still at. You know,
I think they did it as well, if I remember correctly.
Yes, Paladin's got spellcasting at first level too. Okay, yeah. So they're still half casters, but they get earlier on. That's fine.
Now, here's what I'm curious about with Hunter's Mark. Is it still concentration? Yep, it's probably still. I hope it's not. Because the worst part about Hunter's Mark, as I use it, is just that, well, okay, unless they change concentration to make it, like, allow you to have more. But the big problem I have with Hunter's Mark is that you can't... There are a lot of good spells for... Most of the good spells for Ranger are concentration.
Yeah.
And Hunter's Mark is by far the best.
Right now, the link there goes to the normal Hunter's Mark, so I don't have to up it.
Yeah, so I saw that too. That's why I'm like, eh.
Yeah, you still get twice per long rest without expending a spell slot. It levels up as you go. They get Weapon Mastery. They lost Natural Explorer, because I guess it just didn't really make a lot of... It was trash! Yeah. They also get Expertise, turns out, and some languages. And that's pretty cool. Expertise is really great. You know, I give that a thumbs up.
So the idea is more that you're well-traveled rather than you're good in one terrain.
The Depth Explorer that what was in Tasha's Cauldron and everything, which I think was added to the Ranger, is broken up into 3 different features. Okay, broken out into 3 different features. So it's other places now for that, but it's there. So it wasn't a feature in Tasha's, they just separate them out.
Yeah, also part of Natural Explorer, I think, was you would get, like, the ability to, like, gather food and stuff. Let me look. Yeah, because, Natural Explorer, so you can, like, gather food, you can travel faster, but now they're just, like, just use first-level spell slots. Because, like, that's what Goodberry, you don't need food if you have Goodberry. They get
okay,
Goodberry.
so Depth Explorer took 3 other features, put it together,
Explorer.
along with the Expertise in 2 languages. So they're like, hey, at very least you get the Expertise in 2 languages, plus we get these 3 other, like, mild, more story benefits that are also part of this ability, if you want to use them. They're still very rangery. Thumbs up, you know?
Fighting styles they get, so they're still pretty
they're
combat-y.
feet, but you get one, and you could also still choose the Druid Warrior. That was an option from Tasha's Cauldron. I think it's if you get, like, a spell or something. Because, I think I knew someone that took this or something. Anyway, the subclasses, the Primal Companion is a little bit better, I think, now. It scales off of stuff from your Wisdom modifier. Fey Wanderer is very much the same. They don't get the extra... Gloomstalker doesn't get the extra attack on the first round, but gets bonus attacks, bonus damage instead, in certain ways. Hunters can now identify creatures marked by the Hunter's Mark a lot easier, and they just streamlined it. They got rid of Primal Awareness. The Roving also applies to climb and swim speeds, the bonus speed now you have. They got rid of Land Stride. They get Expertise with additional skills.
Okay, I see. So yeah, Deft Explorer is basically meant to, like, you can track better because you picked up Survival. You can perceive better because you picked up Perception. You don't need to... There might be some... Grants you experience in 1 skill plus proficiency in 2 languages.
Yeah.
So you get Expertise, yeah. Or it says, wait, no, it grants you experience in 1 skill plus... I think they meant Expertise.
I think they did mean Expertise. Let's see here. Tireless, you can use an action to gain temporary hit points and reduce exhaustion during a short rest. That's neat. Hide in Plain Sight went away because it kind of sucked.
Land
hey,
not
Relentless Hunter. Relentless Hunter. So I still think damage can break your concentration from this wording, but damage no longer threatens to break your concentration on Hunter's Mark at 13 level.
You can now only lose concentration on Hunter's Mark if you become incapacitated or you die. Well, okay.
So concentration is still sort of a thing, but we don't know if it's changed at all. It might still just be the same.
Honestly, if it hasn't changed, I've decided I'm going to just, when going forward, make it so you can actually concentrate on more things. That's a work, because that's the thing about concentration. Is just yeah, some things might be broken if you do that, but
I'll link the place where all the ghosts for everybody.
Oh, invisibility is a bonus action. At level 14. Number of uses equal to your proficiency bonus. Yeah, they do like that a lot.
It's a good one because it's a simple number. Get advantage on attack rolls by creature currently hurt. Feral Senses just gains blind sight out to 30 feet. That's probably fine. And Hunter's Mark doesn't have additional damage on it. Looks like. So, just looking through this.
Yeah, so now they're very centered around Hunter's Mark, which is kind of neat. Because you kind of did that anyway, and it's kind of nice that it's kind of like almost like the previous Warlock, which is centered around Eldritch Blast. You do Eldritch Blast a lot, and Hunter, your spellcasting are secondary, and Hunter's Mark is generally the best. Yeah, you can have other spells that, like, the lightning arrow and the exploding arrow and those kind of things, which were nice, but honestly kind of unusable in Baldur's Gate 3 because you always had an ally in melee.
Okay, so as a roving, which was originally part of Death Explorer, which now is its own thing at 6th level, does just give you 10 feet of normal movement and a swim and climb speed of 10, it looks like, or something.
As long as you're not wearing heavy armor.
Nonetheless,
I don't think... Yeah, which they're not proficient in, so you'd have to get it from somewhere else, like a feat or...
dwarves can have it, too, depending on their...
Oh yeah, dwarves can have it. I mean, are they going to keep those? I feel like they're gonna...
I don't know. That might have gone away completely. I have no idea what remains and what stays. It used to be that way. That's all I can say. I'd go with what used to be, not what is.
Does Bander wear heavy armor?
No.
He should.
I couldn't get it, and I can afford stuff heavier now. And I might be a good idea to get better armor. We just haven't been a place where I could actually spend this pile of money I've been sitting on.
I went out shopping for everyone like 3 sessions ago.
I forgot.
Anyway. Yeah, I just remembered that. I'm like, oh yeah, they can use heavy armor. He really should be doing that.
Yeah. I might not be able to, depending on the type of dwarf I am, too. I have to check.
Oh yeah, I think it's one of the dwarf types.
It might be mountain. I don't remember if I'm mountain. I don't know. But anyway, expertise grants they get more expertise. Rangers get more expertise. They have
so they're now very much what they kind of used to be, which is halfway between druid and rogue.
Yeah,
they hit hard with Hunter's Mark, and they can get a little bit of skills.
So yes, they can use an action now to give themselves temporary hit points. And you get several uses of it a day, so that's a pretty good one. And they can get rid of exhaustion by resting. No longer... and... Nature's Veil.
No, Dwarven Armor training isn't heavy armor, it's medium armor.
I think I played armor.
Although that's kind of neat. You can have a dwarf wizard with medium armor. I should do that at some point. That's a fun idea.
Nature's Veil, you can turn invisible as a bonus action that lasts to the end of your next turn. That's pretty good. And I can do that. I think that's pretty much all the big changes that we can talk about. So Ranger, I gotta be honest, because some of these changes were from Tasha's, if you wanted to use the Tasha's Ranger instead of the normal one, we already had an upgrade to them. But
they're a lot more... Yeah, they're a lot more... So they streamline their utility side into expertise.
Yeah.
Rather than giving them a lot of weird things of, you can gather food while in your favored terrain. You can track things in your favored terrain.
They're just like, hey, choose some spells or take expertise in survival. That's what they're basically they're like. You just
Yep.
you just take the skill, expertise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bonuses to seeing, expertise, and perception.
Yep. I think that's a good call because there are already rules for that. Why give them special things to do it better when you could just give them other special things to do it better that also apply to other things? Yeah, and they did make them a lot more powerful in terms of their damage output, in my opinion. With the by making Hunter's Mark
slightly
always
more
prepared and usable without it allows them to use their spell slots on other things though as well, which I like.
Yeah, I think they've improved some things with it. It's not like improved to the umpteenth degree. I think again it's another one of like a lot of little quality of lives and some improvements that like honestly Ranger needed. You know, we do talk about like Ranger was, if we go by the 2014 original Ranger, not the bonuses we got in Tasha's, kinda weak. So
I mean the 2014 Ranger alone was the worst class, especially their animal companion. For that one subclass, which needed the buff immediately to where they literally, like, one of their first unearthed arcanas was fixing that.
I mean, now they're using what was in Tasha's, which was like the Primal Companion, which was a much better version of it. They're just using that for what you get automatic, which is it's fine, I think. Mm-hmm. You know, it's an improvement. So I feel like this one is, again, I'm going to say, from just looking at it, I don't think it's super different from the Tasha's version. It's improved from the Tasha's version, but if we already look at, yes, it's a very big improvement from the 2014 version, definitely. But we already had an updated version of it that existed in one of the books. It's just fixing up that one. So I think this is an odd one because Ranger, we can compare it to two different times, you know. Tasha's introduced a lot of small abilities for a bunch of classes that were good options. Ranger was the one they really fixed up in Tasha's, you know. I know plenty of people are like, I've heard people talk about it, you know, because, I'm using the Ranger playing a Ranger. I'm playing the Tasha's Ranger, they would say, you know, because they're like, that's the good one.
Yeah. And originally it was like, oh, you're playing you have the Beast archetype. Oh yeah, no, I have the Unearthed Arcana, or even later did they put it? I know they've officially published it. Was it in Xanathar's that they published it into like an actual book, or was that a different one?
I don't know. I'm gonna just watch my window to make sure it doesn't come into there. It started raining.
Oh,
it's raining.
Okay.
And I've got my window open behind me, so I just have to make sure it's not like wind coming in this way, blowing water and kind of thing, you know. Mm-hmm. So I've got to keep an eye on that.
Yeah. Like, okay, here's what they had: difficult terrain, like before, like Natural Explorer. Difficult terrain doesn't slow you down. You can't become lost. When you engage in another activity while traveling, you remain alert to danger. If you're traveling alone, you can move stealthily at a normal pace. When you forage, you find twice as much food as you normally would. While tracking other creatures, you learn their exact number, their size, and how long ago they passed through the area. That's what you got.
Yeah.
And also, this was only in your favorite terrain, because this is also, you picked your favorite terrain, and you get these in your favorite terrain.
I think that's why it was good for them to get rid of the favorite terrain.
Yeah, now you just get now it's like expertise in survival.
And also just not a favorite terrain is a thing, you know, it's sort of like, yes, favorite terrain, a thing that we just didn't really need really much. It's gone.
Yeah, in their playtests, they actually still kept it, so I'm surprised they completely got rid of it. Because in their playtests, they had favorite terrain, but you could switch it out on a long rest.
Yeah, and favorite terrain isn't intrinsically bad, it just was kind of like, it's one of those things I definitely have to agree with. It's a kind of sucks Pathfinder First Edition. Like, as someone that's I've played a Ranger before, and when you have a favorite terrain, you're like, well, what terrain did I choose? Are we hanging out there?
Yeah, I mean, you literally have to talk with your GM about where it makes them more versatile, because like literally it was just, but at least, you know, the idea they had, I'm like, I could handle that, but also like, you don't get very many good benefits. And as they made a point, like in that little thing, just why are you gathering food? Just pick Goodberry. you know?
Yes.
Literally free food for your party.
Mm-hmm. So that's like, I think it's good improvements. I think it's sort of like, it's a lot of streamlining. And certainly streamlining from what we had in Tasha's a lot more than what we had in English Think Brain, the original 2014. So if you're just using the original 2014, big ups. If you're using Tasha's, I think it's still a boost, but it's not like a super significant boost. It's a pretty decent boost.
Yeah.
Just being a little bit better is significant. So that's where we're at there. And I think that leads us to what we've heard this week, where it's, again, it's good changes, but it never feels so super significant at this point in time. Like, I don't know.
So, I mean, when it really comes down to it, I think they're good improvements. I think it's nice that they're doing it. I mean, I kind of agree with you. Like, well, okay, let's be real. What are the other rule changes? Like, are they going to change concentration? Are they actually overhauling enough for it to be worth it? I actually think that remains to be seen. Just the classes alone is I agree with you. It feels like it could have been done in a 20-page book, you know.
And here's the thing that I heard a lot about it is like, they're yelling pre-order. Pretty, and again, they've talked about pre-order before, but I feel like they are yelling it pretty heavily for this one, out front, because we are seeing a lot more videos on it. But
they also are pushing it a lot more. I will agree, because it's their big next thing. They want this to do well, so they're asking people to pre-order. I mean, I pre-ordered it, but mostly because I'm probably going to show them on stream.
You have pretty good reason to do so, but I'm feeling like, if you don't have that...
Yeah, and I have more money than you, so I can do that.
If you're not in that position, just don't bother.
Yeah, honestly, and here's the thing, it'll all be online in like 3 days anyway.
Exactly. I think that was the other thing I heard, is like, if you really just wait, see if it's online, and then make a choice whether or not, like, once we hear more about it, if it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the more interesting thing is going to be the other stuff, the other rules.
We'll have to see what the
how those change.
Classes are going to throw out there. We only have a few left, and if they have anything else that they're going to talk to us about in these videos, I think that'll be good. And we'll kind of like, as we're getting these kind of like introductions to things, this hasn't been a bad thing for them to do, and it does, though. It both waylays some of the things I thought, but also, like, it doesn't get rid of certain other things, sort of like in that weird juxtaposition of, like, yeah, this is good for us to let them know about, but...
Yeah. I mean, I like all of the changes they're pushing.
I agree, too. I do. So, it's good. We're getting good changes. We just have to kind of, like, wait by ear at this point. We've been talking for 2 hours because this one went a long one. Do we just want to do our week in tabletop and call it a day again?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, these are gonna go a little bit longer because we do a lot of tangents and exposition on this. So. And
this is a topic that we're gonna go into depths about because it is the big thing.
It's the next big thing in tabletop, and we don't have a lot of their news right now because a lot of news sites are down or have been bought out.
There was some news. I looked. Anyway.
I mean, I did look
to see
if Mongoose said anything.
There wasn't a lot from anybody at this point in time. I guess it's also like we're gonna wait because what Gen Con's coming up.
That's the other thing. There might just all ought to be things that are being saved for Gen Con.
I'm pretty sure that's what's going on for a lot of things because Gen Con 2024. When are you? August. So, a month away is a little bit of time, but we're probably not going to get, like, a lot of big stuff before then, I gotta be honest, because it's right at the beginning of August. So it's probably July is going to be a little quiet, so we'll have stuff like this. So last Sunday for our weekend tabletop. That was Joe's game, right? Or am I like mixing up my weeks? Was that?
No,
this
we did
week's
have Joe's game last week. Yeah.
God. My Sundays sometimes blend together, so I have to be like, which one? Because, like, my schedule for visiting my grandmother might be off because it wasn't anything major, but it was like she had some issues and ended up in the hospital. Is basically going to be back at home in a little while, but still there for now. You know, she's in the rehab area.
I can add one more thing.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay. This is a supplement, not a. Or this is not a. Wait, is it not out yet? Oh no, it is. I'll do this to their. Well, actually, I can do this. Here, go here. Sorry, I'm just getting the link to it. What was it called again? That. Do the search function, yes. There we go. Okay, here's the link. Sorry, I just had to...
That's fine.
So, Mongoose released a new Traveler thing. Bounty Hunter, which is covers, apparently, like, contracts and safe houses, hideouts, and other stuff, so... Yeah,
another step towards your being, like, Boba Fett.
Yeah.
But in Traveler. So, cool.
Yep. Anyway, I just wanted to... I realized I haven't looked in like a week or two. When was this released? June 20? Oh, this literally released yesterday.
Hey! Good timing on it, man. Really good timing on that.
Yep.
It's just out now. Joe's game. Where do we start with Joe's game? We finished up the tower. Like, I'm going to admit, I understand now, but there was so much misunderstandings I had in that entire tower section. You know? Yeah. And also, like, it was neat, but it did feel like side quests, though we really didn't need to do this. Granted, I think it's the thing that I feel... This is an issue that I have because, like, I think it's me because I'm much more used to stream games now, and we're feeling more streamlined. I'm much more used to, like, very much so story beats being, like, the big thing. So when we have, like, something that's, like, very much more, very side questy, like, I don't even mean side questy, I mean, like, this thing that we did, probably we didn't need to really do.
Okay, here's the thing, though. Yes, we
helpful.
Did you not figure out that this is literally going to be the next? This is going to be the next arc. Is basically
being inside the tower
and traveling with it and helping this this little skull thing. Did you not catch on to that?
Not at all. Again, this is the entire thing.
We literally have to travel with this little skull guy and bring him to all these cities so we can remember, so we can find out where the Modron went.
The look on my face respects it very much so, like...
Yeah, that's what we found out.
Okay, it's not awful, but it's also, like, you know... We already have, like, dealt with, like, you know, so much story stuff, and, like, you know, I understand story stuff and side stuff, but, like, we have, like... I feel like it's the entire thing of there's, like, it's a big kind of quest type thing that we're kind of on, so it feels, like, a little off in that way, but I guess I understand.
It felt like it started off as a side quest, and then it turned into a main quest, and I agree, it's weird. Like, I think this could have been presented better.
Yeah.
To where we were getting set up for a main quest rather than just dropped into a side quest that turned out to be a long main quest.
Like, personally, like, for me, I just would have rather found the Modron, got back, and did more stuff related to the main quest, because, like... But I can understand, like, it's a very difficult... There's a very difficult journey. But the thing is, like, the rewards we've been promised for finding this Modron are very small, too. I think that's the other thing, too. And so that's why it feels like this is a lot of work for nothing. You know?
So, here's the thing, though. There are other forces here, so we know there's more... We at least know there's more Yugoloths happening. This tower is important. This Modron made it clear that might know more than what's-her-face let on. That was all stuff that... Then what was her name?
Whatever her name is. Also, anyway. it sounds much more awful her having employed it. It sounds less like an employee and more like she just captured
slave.
it.
Yeah, she just literally captured it and made it do work.
Which it gets me like also like I don't know if I actually want to complete this quest, which means it's like why are we even looking for this thing if I don't want to do this anymore? Because that sounds awful. You know.
However, I think, and at least this is character's thought. I know your character is a lot more, why do we keep getting thrown around and not actually, why do I care about what's happening to these people who have treated me horribly? I get that. But my character is all like, oh, we get to explore the Outlands, figure out more about it, and maybe we'll get more information about what's happening.
Yeah, like, it's...
Also, this is a common thing in, since he is using part of the official module, I think.
Yes. I agree. I can, as soon as you say like that, I'm like, man, you're right. I do remember feeling like the stuff from Strahd. Like, this is very like, me trying to find a way to combine these together with Strahd when it's got shit like this. It's like, oh my god. Where am I putting this together with here?
Strahd was a lot more, well, the problem with Strahd is it didn't have a streamlined plot. You as a GM had to drive your players along. Yeah. But this makes me think of Storm King's Thunder. Hold on, let me grab that book real fast. I have it here. In that... Oh, where are you? You're here somewhere. Ow! I forgot I had Tales from the Yawning Portal.
I have Dungeons of the Mad Mage, which I may never use. I like Mega Dungeons, but I never really excuse.
So I actually started running this for a group of friends way back when it first came out. But the most annoying part that I really was that you have to start. You start with a quest. You know, there's this whole thing. But literally, that like kind of this is the whole like basically plot arc that that have you go on, and chapter 3 is literally just here's a bunch of places to explore, go and check them out, with no plot. It's just you're gonna go and look for the plot, have fun.
I think that's at least something I like about the Pathfinder Adventure Pass. Even if there's something like that, they're like, this is vaguely related to what's going on. Oh, the city's under anarchy and you're helping maintain it. Go take care of some anarchy stuff, you know? Or there's a plague going on. Go help take care of something. And they do some side stuff like that. But, like, this one, like, it feels so non-connected was the thing, you know, to, like, the overall plot. It was like, it feels 2 steps removed rather than just 1 step removed.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, maybe we'll bring it back in some more, but also, like...
Yeah, so literally, this is basically the introduction to Chapter 3, is basically like, spoiler alert, but, a vast frontier serves as the backdrop for this story. As it turns out, giants are everywhere and wreaking all sorts of havoc. Blah, blah. This chapter describes the setting. The chapter concludes with 3 encounters to help like propel the story forward, but basically it's just like there's just a giant area and you're kind of sent looking for some things into certain places, but it's like very, very open. or oh wait, no, or is it chapter 5? That's the bad one. Yeah, but it's like you hit this point where it's just like, okay, you know.
So
It's basically just to level you up. It's literally just to level you up. Anyway, that's what this reminds me of.
Mm-hmm. No, I understand it, but that does explain it a little bit more. And it's fine. It's just like,
yeah, it's just explore, learn some things, and level up, and then you can go get along with the main story. Is what it really feels like.
Yep. It's fine. But so I think it was like, again, like it's not like intrinsically what was going on there was bad, but I feel like also like we ran into some weird balancing issues. I think it's sort of like with what was going on with the guys that could, do darkness and stinking cloud and stuff that were trapped in that room, and how they were incredibly fat. Yeah, no, I agree. That wasn't Joe's fault. He was using something, part of it that was pre-made, and it definitely feels like it was something that was off there.
Yeah, so.
So I think it was fun. It was an issue that was there. But, I think it was fine. We got introduced to a new person, part of it, and some plot line, and we'll figure some stuff out. It's, I just hope we secure things a lot better plot-wise, stuff like that.
Joe is not good about foreshadowing, or good with foreshadowing, or honestly driving, or basically, yeah, I mean, foreshadowing is honestly the big thing. You need to know that something is going to happen, so that way you get on board with it. He's also not very good with plot hooks. That's the other one.
Plot hooks and foreshadowing, but I also think it's sort of like, because he's both in ways relying too heavily on the adventure, but he needs to because of scheduling. But also, like, that
doesn't bother me. You can do that.
Well, I agree too. I use pre-made stuff, for like, it's great. But so that's not necessarily the problem. It's just that, like, there are certain things you have to sometimes do when using pre-made stuff, and I feel like he doesn't always do that well and like work off it well. And that's something I sometimes still make mistakes with, I will say. For like Crimson Queen, where I'm like, oh fuck, there's something here that I really should... Like, fuck it, okay. Wall of Thorns! What the fuck was that?
I agree, it's literally just a stalemate button.
I was like, what? Like, cause like, Wall of Fire isn't a stalemate button. Now, I knew Wall of Force is a stalemate button, but it's a stalemate for both sides. Wall of Thorns really kind of isn't, but kind of is, too? Because you can technically do area things, sort of?
Area things and ranged attacks. Like, she had Sanctuary, too, so she limited all of us to ranged attacks. I just realized how I could have gotten out of it. Anyway, I could have just grown.
It was such... Yeah, it was just such a, like... Yeah, it was just like a, what the fuck is this,
Yeah, you literally just shape... Literally, though, the only ways out of it is to roll from... I had 21 strength, and I would have had to roll a 20. I think Joe has 20... No, Joe... I think Joe, when he rages, might have 22. I think he can get up to 22. And he would have had to roll a 19 or 20. So 1 in 10 and 1 in 20 to get out of it.
And it takes 10 minutes to cut through it or burn it, too. It was like, what the hell is all this?
Yeah. So that's one of those things that's just Pathfinder. What were you thinking? A, making this a spell, and B, giving it to this NPC and telling your GM the GMs to use it. I mean, okay, to be fair, like as Momo said, he could have just dispelled it. That would have been his turn, but he could have just done that.
I definitely had like a lot of weird questions about it, but it was we just walked it back because it was like, what? I
agree. As far as walking back goes, I think that was a better option, honestly, just because. By the way, Crimson Queen, we fought some people, and one of them cast Wall of Thorns.
Yeah.
Since we're
Crimson
not
Queen,
talking about that.
Yeah, sorry. Well, I didn't do anything on Monday or Tuesday. Monday's off for a couple more weeks because of, stuff going on with Momo, and then stuff going on with Lightning, and there was some stuff going on with our Cheating River. And I think Momo is eventually planning on doing another game at some point in time, but hasn't informed anybody or, looked for something. Probably going to ask the old crew back and see if anybody was listening. I don't know if I would join that or anything like that still, so I don't know. But that's, like, up in the air for that kind of thing, So right now, I'm just at the Sunday and Wednesday games right now. So, anyway,
Same.
yeah. What was I saying? They continued and finished off the Assassins, which I'm going to say now, there was something off about your team for me for Wednesday. And I don't know what it is. That's kind of gone in a weird direction for your team, because I'm going to say...
So that Momo can one-shot people?
No. Ada did something that, was like, the stuff that happened with the people that had surrendered. I found that was okay, but it was an interesting moral dilemma for characters, and I feel like Ada learned a lesson from that. That Ada also went in direction and grew, because I've sensed growth within Ada. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like everybody else has used that as an excuse to go murder Hobo.
Yeah, like, my character is like, okay, let's talk first. And, okay, you were refusing to surrender, you're refusing, and then even he tried to, I'm like, okay, we'll just murder you then. Because you are literally...
Well, no, the thing is, I'm sorry, you guys went in a weird direction with all this. So, here's what you knew, because I try to tell you this information. I feel like none of you realized. You have a person who is the leader of this area, who's faltering in their loyalty to the Red Mantis. And an Inquisitor who's been sent to basically eliminate them. Yep. If they go wrong. They, when dropped to low health, rather than killing themselves like you've seen these guys do, just kind of surrendered and said, just kill me. And you went to, let's just kill them, or we're going to intimidate you and get the answer. And I'm like, how will that get an answer from someone that's just surrendering? You could have diplomacied them at that point in time.
I tried asking them questions, then Joe went to intimidate, and I'm like, to be fair, she was being very stubborn. And there was okay, here's my thought on all of this, and I kind of understand where they're going. We don't have, like, taking a prisoner right now would be hard.
Yeah.
And getting her to help us, I think, would have been a better option. I still don't think Ada would have been like, well, no, actually, she would have been fine.
Okay,
let's see.
I can fill you in on everything that was going on there and why I actually I threw breadcrumbs out. Not because it was needed, but because I thought it would have been an interesting thing that could have added a dynamic to the game. And you guys just ignored the dynamic. Because the character actually was brainwashed by the Red Mantises. And as soon as you give her any type of, like, semblance of, like, pity, like if you just convinced her, like, just to surrender and basically not intimidate her, not anything like that, but basically give her mercy, she breaks down. Because she was basically, the brainwashing has been breaking off because the person that brainwashed her, who was, like, one of her parents, basically, to turn her into an ultimate killer, died. So she's been basically coasting along on trying to pretend to be in there and, like, not knowing what to do.
Man, if only our Mercy cleric actually cared about Mercy.
Lightning is distracted with the fact that they're moving and tired a lot. So Lightning is half out of it. So we can't rely on Lightning. And Momo, I was hoping Momo was going to go on better moral grounds post meeting with the character's dead husband, but I feel like Momo's still rolling to murder things, and I'm like, I just don't know where you're going. I never encouraged Momo to go full vampire, but I think Momo thinks they're going full vampire. Momo's father doesn't want that. Momo's father doesn't want that. Momo's father's probably going to be like, hey, I can unlock some things and give you some, like, maybe some free Dampier power feats or something like that, bloodline feats, and abilities like that. But that's the best I can maybe do for you. But I'm sorry, like, I position her father, Avona's father, as not being a really terrible being overall. He's still a vampire, but he's sort of like a neutral vampire, or maybe like lawful neutral, maybe a little bit lawful evil, kind of thing, but also like, generally speaking, not really that awful of a person, but still a vampire, like, so not morally high, but not the most morally low person there is.
Yeah.
So
I honestly, I mean, I see where that could have been interesting. I didn't see it with this group. I mean, that's the thing, is like, she was surrendering, and
I've seen you do stuff like this. There's the thing. So that's why I thought you might go for it.
Yes. Here's the thing. The person who's done those things has been, for whatever reason, mostly Momo's character. Momo's character is the one. Joe has. You're right. Joe has also done diplomacy.
But Joe feels very like weird in a lot of ways because Joe's character flips their switch so rapidly. Sometimes Joe's character is like really like reasonable and stuff like that, and then they're kind of like the savage barbarian, and I don't know which I'm going to get.
The problem is we all feel like we're in a hostile place. I'll be honest. I think it was just like, I understood that there was something to be done here. Out of character, I knew, but I honestly didn't know enough. I actually agree that we probably should have gone and talked to the other person first to figure out what was going on. I actually think we could have, but they were so just, no, we're going in here, killing her first, then we'll go up and kill the other person. Well, actually, okay, we're like, even, see, here's the thing, like, you say, oh, I don't know, it's lightning, he's tired, but honestly, I've actually kind of hated his character dynamic, because it's literally like, I'm a mercy, I don't want to kill people unnecessarily. Oh, they're being difficult. Kill!
I think it just hasn't been acting with, like, a full character there in a lot of ways,
yeah, honestly, I don't even understand, because that's the thing. I actually made a comment at one point, like, oh, what happened to mercy? Or what happened to redemption? When you just killed someone one time.
I think it's the thing that, like, it's... And I think this is a problem with the adventure, I'm going to say. Not necessarily the players. That I did not realize from the beginning. Because again, like, I didn't go through as them. This is not supposed to be a revenge story. It's supposed to be a justice story.
Yeah.
Whether that justice is chaotic good or just, stuff like that. But it was established more as a revenge story, and we didn't get into the justice very well in the first, it feels like. So we're still very vengeance first, and I'm like, what do I do about that? Because it feels so like, you can't capture anybody, you've got to kill them all. Like, I understand, like, there's difficult situations. Sometimes you can't do that. But there's not even a thought, it feels like, sometimes now, to, like, capture someone.
I wasn't planning to capture anyone in this base. This base was kill as many people as we can, kill as many important people as we can, and get this person out. That's how I view this mission, and I think that's everyone else is on that page.
Yeah.
I might have been willing to do something more interesting with this. I do understand that there's a weird dynamic, but I kind of understand that none of us are willing to trust people in this place. Just because we've been screwed over so many times by people in this adventure who have tried to get our trust.
You haven't. That's the thing. You really actually haven't.
The whole second adventure kind of was, here are these people who are sent by the Queen to be trustworthy. Oh, the Queen is
I'm sorry, you guys didn't trust them from the beginning. You guys didn't. Oh, you're the character's probably the only one that did. I got the sense that no one trusted them from the beginning.
That's fair. Yeah. Okay, out of character I knew was suspicious, but my character... So, here's my character's idea, and I'll actually explain this. So my character...
Again, your character's the one I think has evolved the most in sort of, like, this direction. Yeah. That's what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm. And I don't think I've explained why my character killed all of those people when she discovered... You
kind of did, and I understood why you did it more like that,
It's a little bit more... So she felt betrayed. She was accepted into the city, and like she was even introduced to the queen. She was given she was given a job. She was like helped out, and then suddenly she finds out the person who was like the person who she thought was helping out the city betrayed them, and she was just like, they need to be punished. They're not going to be punished. Yes, that was part of it, but also I think there was also a part of Ada that just felt betrayed.
Yeah, I can see that with that, and I can see like Ada. I feel like again has the most character growth. I feel in that kind of way. It's not big character growth. I feel like Ada's still very Ada. Hasn't really changed. But I feel like there's enough subtle character growth in the way that you've played Ada that I understand.
Yes,
and I think that's the thing is I don't sense a lot of any, or the directions I sense for other people are weird. Like Joe is very bipolar the way he plays Candace. Like he goes from being like, I have to be a better person because of what my brother. Let's murder them all. And Lightning, kind of there, but kind of not there. I'm glad that they're there, but they're not really like as in depth with it. Same with like Lynn's is again like I feel like unfortunately I like Lynn's, but like I feel like a 9 o'clock time is bad for Lynn's. But I think that's what I've kind of learned.
Lynn's character just doesn't have a character because she just is she falls asleep too fast. Or she's not here some days.
It's just like they can be there because you're not working, but it's again like you physically aren't there as much as like you want to be.
Yeah, and Lightning's character, honestly, every single chance he's had to like do, he says one thing and then does the opposite. It's very much just like, oh no, we have to redeem people. Oh man, I wish I could kill this person. Oh man, we should kill this person. I'm like, but wait, what about redemption? You just preached about that 2 minutes ago. I felt like
we had the redemption earlier on, and it's been a lot. I think as soon as like the moving stuff and a lot of the work stuff happened, and Lightning has been busy for like, the last couple of months, there has been a definitely tonal shift in the way that's been played, because I think, just so busy over the last couple of months of like fixing up a house to be prepared for a move, and things like that.
Oh, okay. So he's moving into a house and he's been fixing it up before.
No, the house he's been living at, I think has been like, in order to prepare it to sell, they had to fix a lot of things.
Okay, I remember this now. Yes, you're right.
Yeah, so he's been very busy the last couple of months,
Yeah,
because
and
it's been a lot of like play hardware and stuff.
And I've seen him play before. He does tend to play very, I don't want to say murder hobby, but he's very much he definitely, his default is very, what's the quickest way to get this over with?
Yes,
is his default, and murder is often the solution.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is like with the default there, it's unfortunately it kind of comes through there with it, and then like again, I think it's also like when everybody is a little bit more tired, I can sense it because everybody defaults to like just straight up murder level 2, and I think that was the other thing too. Is Momo has been a little tired over the past couple of weeks because of work and being there with their partner and stuff like that, and so it's sort of like extra tired. And so what's the default? Murder, and not thinking about like the bigger things. And I think it's like so sort of like I don't necessarily think it's telling of the overall what's going on, but I definitely think sort of like I'm hoping it is just like everybody's a little tired and we'll feel better, and then we'll get like we'll have something. And again, it wasn't necessarily critically important because it really wasn't. It was just there was some things that are mentioned in the book that I'm like, this is really hard, and I basically bent over backwards to add a few extra things to make it easier for that chance.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
it was a cool idea, but it's not necessary.
I agree, and I just don't. I honestly just like, we were in a hostile place, we were attacked, and then like, yes, I agree that there was something there, but
I did say this also too. You were in a hostile place that you broke into, and both of the fights you got into were people that were just standing there. You started the fights both times.
No, I agree. But I tried like talking. Well,
again, it was a hard situation because it was like just asking the information. You're probably not necessarily going to get the information out of them because they're, it's someone that's just like, hey, just kill me. at this point in time. But you started in the right spot, but Joe went to, intimidation, grabbing their throat right away, which was wow. I think also because it felt like an extreme response right away, too, with Condis, of grabbing the throat and, Joe wanted to just, snap their neck and stuff like that, and I'm like, Joe, that's not that easy, and your character's not that good, and this is, a very high-level skilled person. You can just kill them, but it's not so, what are you trying to do?
Yeah, so my thought with Joe is, and I know I saw why he reacted, so he reacted quickly. So he didn't think too much about what he was going to do because Momo was inching his character up to kill him. So Joe's like, "Oh, I want to do this. I want to socialize this. What can I do? Grab, intimidate."
I think that's the other thing too is Avona is a little bit another character that I just don't know what's going to happen because I feel like I don't necessarily mind when Momo rolls the dice, but I feel like it's not really always great for a decision because it adds weird points and times and causes issues sometimes. Because the dice roll said, go and kill it. Momo rolled the die to decide what to do.
Oh, he's that kind of... I didn't realize he was doing that. Okay.
Not always, but sometimes for certain decisions,
I know.
Momo will roll a die.
Yeah.
And I'm I really, felt like this was not the point for that kind of thing.
But honestly, I usually use die rolls for subconscious behaviors, not conscious behaviors. I've done that. I've done die rolls and stuff for things, but it's usually
I think I've done that too. Yeah, I've done it for actions that are you're not as thinking about it, gut reactions. What's my gut reaction?
Yeah. I mean, an example for Ada would be, and even this is I had her. I'm not sure Ada would have been able to figure out if when Momo cast Control Undead to make the elephant move to move the thing, and I was about to go with the Sphinx. I rolled an intellectual because I'm not sure Ada was clever enough to figure that out, so I left it up to a die roll.
Basically, it's when it wasn't working, you were that's weird. That's the kind of thing of
Yeah, that's weird. Do I want? But I could have just figured. But so, but or even, and I think a way Momo could play it probably a little better is maybe Momo has an innate bloodlust, and so he has to control it, and sometimes he gives in. That could be a way to do it. But yeah, just do I do it? Do I not? Let's figure it out. I don't
feel like the Avona really has an innate bloodlust the way that maybe you want to because it's never really been displayed out of it.
Yeah,
I don't
and that's
know
why
if you played up the vampire aspect as much. Anyway.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing that kind of got me a little shocked, which again, I both understand. It's not that you went this direction. It's that you didn't discuss it. And that is the people that have been brainwashed. You went straight to we have to kill them all rather than discussing, which it would have been a reasonable discussion of, is there something we can do to try to save these people that have had this happen to them? And the answer is probably it's not very easy, it's difficult, maybe no. I gotta be honest, it would be very difficult to break the brainwashing on all these people. So I could understand coming to the decision.
Oh wait, are you talking about the people in the cells?
The other Grey Maidens. They've all been brainwashed.
Oh, yeah.
You learn that now.
Yeah. I don't think that's been...
their leader is probably a lot less possible, but the rank and file, it's pretty obvious that most of them are probably brainwashed.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to even accomplish that and also accomplish our goal.
Oh, no, and I agree with that. I just think, I would have... I think it would have been better to have that discussion as characters in the game.
I agree. I actually think we should, and maybe that you should prompt that next time so we can... Because that is a thing. My character... I figured that out, obviously, and I've considered Ada might have some hesitations, but she still would be determined to finish their quest. But yeah, I actually think it would be something to discuss. Because you are right. Yeah, and I think we should take some time to discuss that. We were talking tactics, because we know we probably... Well, that's the other thing, too, is I don't think... Ivona cares.
I think there... I think, is it possible to save them and remove what's happened to them? Yes. Is it easy? No. I will tell you that. And is it worth it in this situation? It might not be. They might be gone too far for it to make it very easy to do that. I'm not going to deny that kind of thing, you know.
It's possible to control the whip lady and have her no, I don't think that would work. The pump, the psycho pump, and have her unbrainwash people. I don't think that would work.
The creature is intrinsically kind of awful.
Yeah.
You know.
That's why I'm
there's
like,
a reason that they betrayed Pharasma, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, part of me is like... Part of me is also like... Too bad he only prepared one teleport, because we could probably at this point just be like, teleport past them. Is there a way... Anyway,
and
this
again,
is stuff
like,
to think about, and yeah, I mean, I haven't been putting
the
as
leaders
much
are
thought into this
definitely
game the
people
past
that,
few
like,
weeks, but yeah.
The leaders are definitely
which...
people that probably are more, like, willing along line with this kind of thing, and you know the two of them that are there, so you can easily target them. But the others is kind of like a hard thing, and maybe you just have to kill them because you can't not kill them. And I just thought it was like, especially with, I feel like, a lot of the alignments and people and how they've kind of gone in a lot of things, there wasn't any discussion on. Like, the only one that I feel like is of the only one that I feel like maybe wouldn't really care as much is Ivona, because Ivona still is very, I feel like, chaotic neutral. Well, chaotic neutral. You know?
Yeah. What's funny is I consider Ada kind of shifting from chaotic neutral to chaotic good very slowly.
I felt you'd kind of almost be a little bit more maybe neutral.
Oh,
and
like a true
so you
neutral?
might be going, yeah, try true neutral. Or maybe you are moving towards like neutral good, but I feel like you're going in that direction too.
That makes sense. Yeah, I can see that.
You know.
Yeah.
So that's what I felt more for Ada.
Yeah.
Condis switches between very chaotic good and then like I don't know what alignment.
He switches between chaotic good and neutral good.
Yeah, and or chaotic neutral. I feel like sometimes too. It's just I don't know where he is, and then like technically Tavil's I think chaotic good too.
He switches, you know what? Yeah, he switches from neutral good to chaotic neutral periodically, but Tavil's true neutral because Tavil doesn't do anything.
When Tavil technically acts, it's technically the better alignments, but like, you know, Tavil just doesn't do a lot. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting situation that, and technically Lightning is, I think, chaotic and neutral good. So theoretically, you should be more good aligned overall, but there's just times where I don't feel it. You know.
Yeah, and I definitely do need to do. I think now that I think about it, I definitely was a lot more passive last game. I feel like Ada would have been probably pushing a lot more, so maybe I should have done that. But also, I just feel like everyone was. But then again, everyone else was so murder hobo-y. Every time I tried to like talk or do anything, everyone's like, "What are you doing? Stop doing that. We're doing this."
I think that's why I felt like something was off, because it was like all of a sudden everybody was so murder hobo-y, and I'm like, "Holy crap! What the hell is going on?" You know.
And that's why I was like, Ada's gonna go and check this out. Ada's no, stop. We're gonna do this first. It's like. I was like, okay, fine.
The only thing you spared is the centipede because it's a stupid animal. And the thing is, here's another major thing. None of you, I don't know what it was, but you sort of used the undead. It is completely under Momo's control. It knows a shit ton about what's going on here. You could have gotten so much information from it.
I asked it and it said no, and I asked Momo to ask it, and he's like, walked away. Do you remember that part?
Oh, I remember that part, and it pissed me off, because I'm like, why aren't you fucking using this resource you have? They sent you to scout. Guess what? 95% of what you scouted out, it could have told you.
Yep.
It knows everything.
When I realized that, I tried.
But it isn't under your control. I know. I'm like, it's not going to listen to you, but Momo could just ask the same thing. It's a really good resource, and yes, it's kind of cheesy, but like it's the same thing as wild shaping into a map. Oh, you froze up. I'll have to wait a second. But Oh, I ran out of iced tea. I got a little water left. No, we lost. Oh, we really lost Worm. Damn. Oh, hello, you're back. Spinning Doom. Hello?
Hello.
Ah, you've returned. Excellent.
Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. It's the same. I was gonna say it's pretty much the same thing of like you used a resource to turn into a mouse to scout out, and I thought that was a great idea. Like, yep. I'm sorry, a mouse in a dungeon is not going to be something people are necessarily going to turn their heads on, and you're also just really stealthy. So like, probably the majority of people didn't even notice you, and anybody that would probably doesn't give a flying fuck. You're a goddamn mouse, you know.
Yep. Yeah. So, yeah, but it was definitely, and I think honestly, if we do, and maybe my character will bring it up, like. And I think that's a good idea. Maybe be like, hey, maybe we could find a way around this. I'm not sure it's possible, but maybe we should talk about it. I know and that's the other thing too, though, as I know the immediate response of Vona will be like, no, we're killing them. I'll be like, okay, fine.
Again, like, I think it's reasonable to say, just kill them, you know, because it is very difficult to capture them. They are pretty powerful fighters, and you might not be able to undo all the damage that's been done to their bodies.
Yeah.
It's not an unreasonable thing, you know? You've saved thieves here, the rest of them might not be rested.
Yeah, I think it's stuff, but yeah, I mean, we could talk about it. I definitely think it'll be more important, out of character and in character, I probably think it'd be more important to get the ones who have not been brainwashed out safely.
So the thing is also, like, which is, I think, an interesting idea, is there was a suggestion of possibly river popping in a little bit to help with that, and I have a perfect way to add river in. You're just rescuing a bunch of people.
That's a good point.
It could have just been that River was one of these, my female character was one of these women that, you know, was trapped in here and being tortured and brainwashed. They could just be a stronger character that would have been like, oh, this will be our new, like, elite guard when we can get them broken down. Could have been there pretty new, you know?
Yep. We also have a lot of spare gear in our bags of holding. So
yeah, so sort of like, yeah, I'd be like, we really can't have equipment that you would have, but you can join with them here, and you could be with them for a while, and like, the entire thing is, it's a character that could be out for revenge for what happened to them, or justice very easily, which I guess are the two themes of this entire thing, and I don't know what the character would do.
Yeah, if he does join, definitely be like, okay, go to the equipment list, this is stuff you can put on your character sheet when you do join, you know?
Yeah, so...
Because that's what we'll offer, but...
Again, I think that's a, like, I was thinking about that, and I might just say that, like, you know, hey, we can have you put together a character and kind of show up anyway. I don't know if, like, you get Lightning, I'll just have to balance out an extra person for a little while, and I'll just allow Lightning to choose to not be there or not, or for, like, working with, like, you know, setting up internet and situation and stuff like that, because it's sort of like, not only moving and getting internet, but getting, like, a place where you can be on your own, kind of thing, too, like, separate. Getting all that worked out sounds like it's going to be a unfortunate hassle. So
yeah, and I know I'm going to be moving out probably early August, so we'll see when I have some issues, but hopefully I can at least come back here and have this room until I'm fully moved out, so
anyway,
we'll see how that goes.
But that kind of hits up on everything that I guess happened this week. I think, like, again, I'm not really, like, super against everything that happened in Wednesday. I just feel like everybody was in such a way that
you wished there was discussion of alternative options, not just straight murder.
Yeah.
Even though I do feel like we would have ended up at murder anyway, even with Ada, like, I feel like it would have been...
I think the thing is, when there is discussion, it feels like at least the characters are not murder hobos.
Yep.
Which is not something you necessarily are, but it's that, like, inkling in the back of the brain of, like, you know, like, things that people, like, you know, sometimes teams of characters go very murder hobo, and I'm like, not really happy about this.
It is a very easy default if a lot of people are tired, so Yeah,
so we'll see. Hopefully it'll work out. Anyway. guess unless there's something else that you two did this week, it kind of leaves us at the end of our week in.
In Solasta, everyone was surprised that my orc could speak Orcish.
That's...
So, okay, I should clarify. My half-orc. So, we were in a dungeon full of orcs, and I basically used my half-orc to talk to everyone, and they're like, an outsider speaking Orcish? It's like, he's a freaking half-orc.
Oh, so it was just that the orcs there were kind of idiots a little bit.
No, I think it's just more they were super racist. Like, they even called us all, like...
Yeah, okay.
Because literally they kept calling us Nyarks, which the orc told us, oh, that means not orc in Orcish. So basically they kept calling us, oh, hey, look at this group of not orcs, you know?
Gotcha, racist. Makes sense.
Yeah. So...
alright, cool. I guess, do you want anything to shout out then for this? Your basic
yeah, I'm DiamondWyrm. You can find me on twitch.tv/DiamondWyrm or at DiamondWyrm on Twitter. I'll be on my channel, twitch.tv/DiamondWyrm, tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. PDT. I also stream weekdays at 7:30 p.m. PDT. Well, my stream Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. I'm fading. This has been a long stream. We talked for an hour after.
We
talked for an hour after. Yeah.
So, myself, 10th Hour Dracovin. You can check out all my other tabletop stuff earlier in the week. Everything goes up on YouTube. Make sure to check it all out. I think you would enjoy all the things. So, feel free to, pop in and check out all that stuff. I do stream a lot. If you're looking for gaming streams, I do some of those too. That's Hollow Knight Randomizer right now and Elden Ring. Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays for tabletop stuff. Crimson Queen on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. This show every day at 6 p.m. My social medias are linked in all the descriptions and stuff like that in below. And that's it then. Okay. Alright, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. I'll be at very least back on Monday, and so if you want to see more about it, that'll be more Hollow Knight Randomizer. Go check out then. Until the next time, though, I bid you all farewell. Goodbye. Bye.